Allison,
Hello.
hey, what's happening?
Not much. I just dragged myself out of bed.
Well, good morning. Let me be the
Good
first one to tell
morning.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is a real treat for me. So I appreciate you agreeing to it, and really looking forward to it. And welcome to
Yeah,
On the Rocks podcast, by the way. What
of
are you up to
of
today
course.
besides,
Um,
waking up?
yeah, no, I would love to hear more about the podcast. Today, yeah, today was a good day because usually I stream on Mondays and Thursdays,
Oh,
but
for sure.
today, my husband is getting part of his tattoo filled in, and so we
Oh,
took the day off of streaming,
right
and
on.
so
Yeah,
yeah, later at
yeah.
4:30, we're gonna be heading over to a tattoo parlor. He's getting like this octopus sleeve.
Oh, badass.
Yeah,
That's
it's turning out
amazing.
really cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, you'll have to definitely share that on socials when that is all finished because people love
Yeah.
that stuff. People love seeing tats. And that's one thing. I don't have any tattoos, but I always appreciate great art. So
Yes.
very
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. The funny thing about us sharing tattoos as well as, being former Disney Channel kids,
Yes.
it can sometimes get mixed reactions if there's a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, this is super cool," and then people
Yeah.
being like, "Your body is
Hmm,
pure and
you
don't
were
do
s-
that."
you were so wholesome.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like a rebelling thing, almost like the first time, couple times you get tattoos, being, Disney kids?
Yeah, I think for me, I think that everybody knew that Zora had a little bit more of like a crazy side and it was a
Sure.
little bit less surprising, but Dylan's
Yeah.
character was a little bit more like, oh, but he's the cute nerd
Yeah.
boy. And like,
That's great. Well, yeah. So, um, if we want to just get into it, I can do like just a quick intro of you.
okay.
People know who you are, but some people might be totally clueless, and then we'll just kind of
Yeah.
get into it if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that I'm kind of in that sweet spot of like I've got somewhat of a following to where I can
Yes.
promote my things, but I'm not like the stalkers. It's like I've only had like a couple stalkers, so like that's nice. Like we're
Yeah.
not on that like world famous can't fly on
Sure.
a plane.
Not yet. Yeah.
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 I yeah,
Yeah. I
that's a
want.
big reason that I'm trying to transition to behind the camera. I'm like, you
Sure.
won't get people breaking into your home as much
Yeah.
if you're the one that's like writing the projects.
Right. Just hide a little bit behind the camera and still do some stuff on camera, but a little mix.
Exactly.
I got to say when I posted on socials on my private Facebook page, my family and like my friends were so stoked when I said that I landed the interview with you. So
Aw.
yeah, like I had a ton of likes and a ton of support, and it was just really cool that they were all just like all of a sudden interested in my podcast. So
Oh, that's awesome.
one of those things. So myself and all of them are really looking forward to it, as well as a bunch of people on the AP Bio subreddit, which I actually fielded. I fielded questions from them too. If you want to do like a subreddit Q&A at the end or something like that, just a
That's
rapid fire.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's like 3,000 people in that group, and they're really stoked too. So yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. And I've been having fun doing my homework. Obviously, I know you from AP Bio, and just kind of looking at everything else you've done, and really digging all your stuff. So we'll get into all of
Oh, oh
that.
no. Oh no.
We're going to
Go
dig
down
so deep. Yeah. Go
the
down that
rabbit
rabbit hole.
hole.
Yeah, for sure. So, Allisyn Snyder is an American actress, writer, artist, and director, best known for her main role as Zora Lancaster on Sonny with a Chance and its spinoff, So Random, as well as how I know her as Heather Wilmore on NBC Peacock's AP Bio. Allisyn, thank you so much again for agreeing to be on the Rocks podcast. And I'm just super stoked for you to be here. Do you want to first start off telling our listeners how you and I first connected?
Yeah, you reached out via Poshmark, right?
What a
I'm
dork.
I'm getting rid of a bunch of old event clothes, which
Sure.
it's probably not a good idea that I'm purging clothes during the quarantine because I'm like, I
Right.
don't need this. I'm never going to wear this. And then as soon as I start getting invited to things again, I'm like, oh crap, I have no nice clothes anymore. But I'm
Right.
just like, it's a great, easy way
Yeah,
to
I
make
saw
a
some of
couple
the
bucks.
red carpet pictures on there, and it's like that should help sell it. I think just
I hope so. Yeah.
get
I'm
people
like,
interested.
yeah, I'm like, where's a photo of me in this dress? And I have to like think of what event I wore that to. And so I'm
Right.
like, okay, like 𝗚𝗏𝗏𝗏, like I have to Google it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's a
Okay.
good picture of it.
That's that's great that you have that kind of resource to use for selling your clothes on Poshmark. That's really a nice
Well,
luxury, I'm sure.
I've sold like 3-4 things, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I would necessarily say that I'm doing great, but
Well, I will say your prices are great on there. So kudos on that. I've got a bunch of stuff on there that I'm probably asking too much for, but it'll
I
sell
I'm
eventually.
I'm absolutely asking for not enough because like I
Right.
remember I was having Dylan help me print out a label for one. He was like, "You sold a Burberry coat for $30." I was like, "I'm just trying to clear room in my closet." I'm like, "I haven't worn it. I can have
Yeah.
more use out of $30."
Sure. $30 is great. Like that's how I look at it, how I look at it too. I'm working from home now. I got a new job in November. And I'm like, I have so many rad clothes that I'm not gonna really wear anymore because of
Yeah.
COVID and just not leaving the house as much in general. So I'm
Yep.
trying to purge everything. But it was really, really great to connect with you on Poshmark. I was just going through my connections on Twitter, and you happen to be, towards the top because you're in the A's, goes by the first letter. And I was like, holy shit, Allisyn Snyder's on Poshmark. I have
Yep.
to like comment on her closet and get in touch with her. And then it was a couple of days went by and I'm like, maybe she's just like didn't see it or just I don't know, didn't want to engage via Poshmark. But then sure enough, you told me to hit you up on Twitter. So now you are following me on Twitter, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Those couple days were me trying to figure out if you could privately message somebody on Poshmark because I was like, I don't want to just
Yes.
stick my email
Just
address
like,
publicly on Poshmark.
hey, everyone, look at my email address on my closet. Just, hit me up. Don't get creepy. Oh
Yeah.
man. So I thought that was hilarious. And everyone, like my family, when I posted about it too, they thought it was pretty funny that that is how I connected with you. So great to be here with you. So I know
Yeah.
I've been doing my homework, listening to, the podcasts that you've been on. Haven't been on a ton yet, which is kind of cool for me because I'm kind of in I'm getting on the ground floor here on the Allisyn Snyder podcast appearance world. So why don't you just start off maybe telling me about your childhood? I know you started out as a youngster acting. What do you remember about like your first gigs and kind of what that was like as a little 4-year-old?
Yeah, so I know that like a lot of child stars, there's kind of this, impression or, this cliche story that parents push their kids into acting or like that their parents are super into it and it's like you need to perform and you need to do this and everything and like that whole kind of pageant kid-esque thing.
Right.
But my parents they really didn't know what they were getting into and they were just trying to support me and do something that they saw that I was having fun with. They used to take me to a lot of plays when I was little.
Nice.
So we would just see things advertised in like the local paper and be like, oh, this is Sleeping Beauty or whatever.
Right.
And so they would take me to plays. And in the middle of the play, like witch would poison princess's drink or something.
Yeah.
And then like the princess would come back on stage and I would start yelling like, she poisoned it, don't drink it. And they're like, you
Spoiler.
can't like I would just like, I wanted to get up on stage with them
Sure.
and start like being a part of the story.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, so she clearly wants to like perform and be a part of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, instead of, discouraging the behavior and being like, you have to sit still and be quiet over here,
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, let's take her to an acting class.
Sure.
And so I was lucky enough that at my first acting class, there was a substitute teacher there that day, and
Nice.
she is a manager. And so she's been my manager for math.
Oh.
I'm turning
Oh,
25, but yeah, she's been
right
my
on.
manager for what, 17, 18 years
Damn, that's a great
now.
gig for both of you.
Yeah, no. So she found me at this acting class and was just like, oh, she follows directions super well. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to talk to adults, which is a huge thing
Which a
for,
lot of kids,
yeah,
yeah. It's one of those
yeah.
things.
My parents got married really really young and they had me really young, and none of their friends had kids either,
Oh, sure.
and so I just kind of hung out with them and their friends, so I was already
Okay.
used to like being around adults and being talked to like an adult, so I kind of
Right.
had this leg up from other kids who they would see a
Yeah.
casting director and they would clam up. For me it was just kind of like, oh, like everybody that I already talked to are adults,
Sure.
so
These are my people. That's really cool. Like you were
yeah.
kind of like a little mini adult then, it sounds like.
Yeah. My mom always jokes that I was just kind of their like child roommate. She was like, it was really strange. It was just kind of like a small adult moved in with us. I was like, oh, hello.
That's a great idea for your next show. Just play one of the young parents and find some little kid to play you as a kid.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, it was pretty much just like children raising a child.
Yeah, that's
I
really
just kind of
cool.
grew up yeah, I grew up with my parents, which was pretty fun. But yeah, so I got into acting, and basically Lynn, my manager, asked my parents like, hey, can I start sending her out on auditions? And they had no idea what that meant. They were just like, yeah, sure, we can drive her around.
Yeah, why not?
And yeah, my dad's in the music industry, so he like knew a little bit like entertainment stuff, but really not on the scale of like what it turned into. It was just, yeah. And even for me as well, because it's like all of my friends were friends from school, so I didn't have other friends in the industry to kind of like taint my like vision of it. It was just sort of like, oh, like some of my friends do after school soccer and I do after school auditions. Like sometimes I get picked up early from school. That's cool. I get to like miss history. But like it was never like, I would book things and it was like, oh cool, like we're filming at Disneyland, and like that was the exciting part, and not the part of like we're filming something.
Not being in a production.
Yeah, really so neat. It was really great. My dad was so good at balancing like my childhood and working. He would pay attention to things like if I had a 𝗘𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗏 birthday party that I was really looking forward to, and then I get called back for a commercial shoot that's like national commercial, gonna pay a crazy amount, but the date interferes with the 𝗘𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗃 birthday party. He'd be like, oh, we're gonna have to pass on this one, and my agents and my manager would be like, can we like still go on? He's like if we make her miss too many things, then she's not gonna do this anymore. She's just gonna quit altogether.
She's gonna totally be withdrawn from it.
They're like, but it's a really good gig, and he's like, she's 5.
She's a kindergartner. Let her do her thing. Well, it's really great your parents found a good mix of being a kid and also being a working actor at such a young age. It's really cool that they did that. We're looking out for you, your best interest, which that's their job as parents, so it's good they did their job.
They did their job. And I try to keep that mindset, because of course, I hear about that later and I'm like, oh, that could have been like an extra story on the house, an extra car in the garage.
Right.
But I try to keep that mindset even now, like if I, for instance, I had like for Halloween in 2020, a bunch of my friends and I, there was like a group of I think 8 of us that we had been quarantining and kind of going a little stir crazy, and we were like, hey, if we all isolate and we get tested, like let's rent a cabin Halloween weekend, and let's go and just like play board games and just isolate in this cabin, and just I was like, we all really need some just kind of like time to just be around other humans. And so it's like this was something that we had been planning, and especially I myself had been organizing and stuff. And then I get this like audition for a film. It was like a same day self-tape, which I already hate, and then I saw the dates conflicted with the trip, and I was like I'm not gonna go on this audition. I was like, I don't need to put that kind of stress of like trying to miss this thing that I had been looking forward to.
Right. Well, that's really it's cool that you're able to do that with your friends too, and that you were able to hang out together, quarantine together, so you could go out and do fun things, because there's nothing worse than just not being able to do anything. That's like the the interaction. We all need interaction.
Yeah, my castmates, Nick, who plays Marcus, and then Jacob, who plays Victor, they were 2 of the friends.
Very cool.
They're some of my absolute closest friends. They were
neat.
both they were both a part of my wedding as well.
Oh wow. And, right on.
So they were there, and especially Nick, because he lives alone, like just in an apartment in Hollywood, and he just spends all of his time on TikTok. Like you need to like go take walks.
You need to get out more, bud. So cool. You've told me a little bit about your parents. I know I read that your dad is also an artist too, just like you. That's like a sign painter, is that?
Yeah, he's done a little bit of everything. He supported himself in high school and kind of saved up in order to move out by painting on the backs of like jackets, which is funny because that's what my sister does now.
No way.
Painting on jackets. She's got a little Etsy shop. It's I believe 𝗵ciets by 𝗍𝗍.
Nice.
Because I started commissioning her to do jackets for me, and then I was like, you should sell. Because I was like, how much do you charge? And she was like, I don't know, if you want to pay me like $30. And I was like, okay, we've already established $30 is not a good price for jackets.
Your family doesn't know how to price things online.
Yep, exactly. So I was like, you need to charge a little more than that.
Just a little bit.
But so 𝗍𝗍 So Josie paints jackets. And my dad, so he painted jackets. And then when he moved out to Los Angeles, that was one of the first gigs he got, was like painting a bunch of signs.
Sure.
He did a bunch of the signs around like a lot of the touristy stuff in
Oh,
Hollywood.
nice.
So so
Yeah.
like if you go to like Wax Museum or
Oh,
different
cool.
museums and stuff, it'll say like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something, and it's like he
Yeah.
painted a bunch of those,
Cool.
which is super cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's always just kind of like been a creative person, and
Hmm.
so he'll jump back and forth between a bunch of different artistic
Sure.
stuff. Like even for his band, he was like, "Ooh, I have a cool idea for a music video," and he got into animation. So
Oh,
it's like
wow. Just
there's
got to learn it yourself. That's
which
neat.
I'm that same way too. I got that from him because over 2020, I was like, "Ooh, let's get into stop motion,"
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
a
hell yes.
intense.
Oh,
Oh my
God.
gosh,
So
yeah, because
tedious, but so cool.
I know we were doing 24 frames per second.
Oh my
It was like 17 hours later we had like 10 seconds, and it was like,
Right?
no.
It's like poof, it's gone. That
Yep.
10 seconds. Oh, wow. So what is your mom? Is your mom artistic as well, or what does she do?
She is so I kind of have like left brain, right brain parents, and
Okay.
so the two of them together kind of contribute to who I am.
Nice.
But yeah, my mom, like her dad was like an engineer, and she's very like perfectionist and planning
Hmm.
and everything, and she's super like organized and motivated. She's also like
Okay.
crazy fitness junkie.
Okay. Wow.
Just
Nice.
like she's gotten crazy into like mountain biking this year
Wow.
as
Right
well,
on.
and yeah, she's just like
That's cool.
super active, super fit, super tatted up, like, and she looks like
That's
my
cool.
sister. Yeah,
Okay.
because again, both my parents are so young, and they
Yeah.
have like this youthful energy around them as well.
Very
And they
cool.
also anytime that my husband and I are getting rid of clothes, we always see if they want it first, because
Run it by
they wear
them.
a lot of our so they wear a lot of our old clothes too, which
Nice.
doesn't help with
Yeah.
them looking
Right.
like
Yeah.
actual adults.
They look like they're 25. And then, what doesn't make the cut
Exactly.
goes on Poshmark. So that works out well.
Exactly,
They have to
exactly.
preview the wardrobe that's going up for grabs. And yeah.
That's why all the fancy stuff is on my Poshmark, because there's
Sure,
no way
sure.
my mom would ever wear
They
any of
don't want
that.
no red carpet type looks. By the
Yeah,
way, I saw
no.
one of your dresses sold for only like $9 and it was worn on the red carpet. So go check out Allisyn's Poshmark. You guys just search her name. She's on there, easy to find.
It pretty much just I'm giving you free clothes to get
Yeah,
rid of it out of my
pretty
closet.
much.
Yeah.
You pay
Well,
the
because
shipping, we'll send it out.
yeah, my thing was, I was like, I would just be dropping, like, I've dropped so many bags of clothes off at the thrift
Sure.
store, which is totally fine, and I love
Yeah.
supporting that. But there was some of like the higher end stuff that I was like, I
Yeah.
would rather somebody find it and be like, oh, this
Love
is
it.
a steal, and then I get like
Yes.
$5 out of it, and it's
Right.
like,
And then
cool, that's a
that
little better than just driving it there and it's
yeah.
nothing. So
For sure. And you never know where it ends up when you drop it off at a thrift
yeah,
store. I mean, it's good
yeah.
to have a balance too. I've done that same thing where you just take, old cargo shorts from like 15 years ago that I haven't worn in forever, like in 10, 15 years, and drop them off. I know someone's going to use them because I don't think a lot of people will buy them. So you got to kind of think, weigh the options as far as what you drop off for free and what you can get a little money for. So it's a good thing
Yes.
though. It's good to declutter, and especially now we've all had so much time, like spare time, to do that type
Hmm.
of thing. I think it's good to do. So kudos to you for doing that. You know,
Yeah.
famous people are real people too at heart. So there you go.
I was talking with Dylan, my husband, the other day about how I like people have this, like, I think, understanding of quote unquote celebrities and like what their
Mhm.
lifestyles are like, and I'm very very like average, like middle, like I don't know exactly what I'm trying
Sure.
to say, but I have
You're one
definitely
of
more
us.
of, yeah, it's like I have more of a creative like work schedule in life. I'll stream and I sell artwork and I do
Right.
videos on Cameo for people as
Yep.
Heather. So I definitely have like a strange different life in those regards, but
Yeah.
everything else surrounding that is like living in a condo complex, like,
Yep.
we all share the same washer dryer, and like,
Yeah.
I had to take my car in and the other
Right.
day to get an oil change and try to
Sure.
transfer money over from my savings to make
Yeah.
sure I could pay for it. Like,
Real people shit, it's
yeah, I remember I was at a roller rink when I was a teenager during the Disney days,
mhm.
and some kid came up to me and they were like, "Oh, you're Zora from Sunny with a Chance."
Yes.
They were like, "Can you buy me an iPhone?" And I pull out my BlackBerry. I'm like, "Can you buy me an iPhone? Like, what do
Right.
you think this is?"
You buy me one. I love that. That's a great response, just off the cuff. That kid never asked for anything else again. So nice work. So you said, you spoke about Disney shows. Obviously, that's a huge part of where you come from, and the work that you've done and where people recognize you from. I would imagine it's probably harder for people to recognize you from AP Bio because of the glasses. So tell me a little bit about growing up Disney.
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, it didn't really sink in for me that I was, doing things that were ending up on television and that was a big deal at all.
Hmm.
It was just kind of, like I said, my friends did soccer, I did acting, and a lot of the projects that I did were, I would do a lot of commercials. So occasionally my friends would see me in commercials, and that was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But other than that, the television shows that I would guest star on were all like, more adult television shows, and the
Hmm.
movies that I would be a part of were rated R. And so my
Nice.
friends didn't really get to see me in anything, and I didn't even get to watch back a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
my own work. It's like my
Yeah.
parents might be able to show me my scene, but like I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't able to really like sit down and see myself like in a movie or on television. I would just kind of like do these things and then they would just sort of
Hmm.
disappear into
Yeah.
the world.
You'd queue
And
them up for you to see and then like turn it off.
yeah, so I kind of didn't really get to see what I was doing until I booked Sunny with a Chance, and
Right.
we also we got cable because of that, because we didn't
Nice.
have Disney Channel or any of
Yeah, I
these
remember reading
like
that. So it was kind of a different,
yeah.
probably a different thing for you. You didn't know how big it was at the time, probably.
Yeah, and I didn't even really understand like like meeting all these other Disney kids. It's like I didn't
Hmm.
watch Disney Channel because we didn't even
Yeah.
have Disney Channel. I was just watching PBS. And
Right.
so it's
Hell
like
yeah. You weren't as
I
starstruck, probably.
yeah, I would do all these Disney promos with, like the Miley and Selena and stuff would be there. And I was just kind of like, oh, cool. I've seen their photo on like
Hmm.
backpacks and stuff. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh my God, I've watched your show for years.
Yeah. I've been a
And
fan forever.
yeah, so it took a bit to sink in, but as soon as, Sunny with a Chance started airing, and then all my friends kind of were like, "Oh, this is like a real thing that she does. Like this is huge."
Right.
And I also had to leave school for that, because we had a pretty intense schedule working on Sunny
Right.
with a Chance, and I was missing just too much school, and
Sure.
there was no other like actors that attended the school, so they weren't very flexible. It was kind of this weird
Oh,
situation of I think I would have been better off if I was like, I'm sick and I'm missing, and
yeah.
they would be like, okay, you
I
can
have
come
an
back and
appointment.
make it up. But
Yeah.
I was like, I have a teacher on set that's willing to help me with the work if you just like tell me what we're doing for the next
Right.
month. And they were like, no,
Oh,
like the book would say to circle the correct answers, and then they would be like, but we said in class to underline it, so you
oh,
did it
jeez.
incorrectly, and like
Oh,
now you don't get graded for this. And it was weird
wow.
stuff where I was like, the teachers just were kind of like, you're choosing to miss school.
Yeah.
So I had to start homeschooling, and it just kind of like that really switched my life over, because it was
Right.
kind of like I was balancing school and working, and I would
Hmm.
do maybe like a week long shoot, and then I would go back to school. But then all of a sudden acting became like my full
Your
life,
thing.
and my social circle and everything was now revolving around acting and Disney.
Sure. So at what age did you switch to homeschool then?
Let's see. I was in sixth grade. When we did the pilot for Sunny with a Chance, I was 11, and then when the show got picked up and we started filming, I was 12.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
right at that tender age where things are getting interesting anyway in life. That must have been a
Yeah.
challenge, and it's good that you got out of that in good shape.
Yeah, it was definitely like, again, my parents are super cool, and they did all the right things in like making sure that I, was still having like a good, wholesome, fun childhood.
Right.
But it was definitely like a weird social switch, kind of like, kid moving right before middle school and then trying to
Yeah.
attend a new school. It was sort of like,
Oof.
oh, now I'm like thrust into this other world where I don't know
Yeah.
anybody, and
Man.
let's try to make some friends.
That's tough. A lot of child stars don't end up as lucky as you. So it's good that you ended up having, the great parents that you have and that are super supportive and protective and all that stuff. And thankfully they
Yes.
started homeschooling you and got things going in your favor. I wanted to ask you, I was listening to the Smoshcast podcast episode that you were on, which I loved.
Yeah.
I didn't make the connection that Shane Tops from the Goldbergs, Matt Bradley on the Goldbergs,
Yeah.
is with Smoshcast. I don't know why I didn't make that connection until just yesterday when I was listening to that episode. And that was super fun to see. I love him. My wife and I love him on Goldbergs.
Oh,
He's
that's
like
so cool.
he's like the kind of hippie Grateful Dead fan on that show. So very cool to see that connection that you
Shane
have to
is
him.
the greatest. Yeah,
He
I
seems
I
like he is.
absolutely Yeah, I love doing anything with Smosh. Shane and Damien are just like the funniest people
Yeah, those
you've
guys are
ever
great.
meet.
So
Yeah.
good. So that was cool to see Matt Bradley is in your circle too.
Yeah.
So speaking of people in your circle, your husband Dylan Snyder, I know how you met, but
Yes.
can you tell the little story about how you guys met and kind of what that was like being fellow Disney actors?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I was just saying, my social circle kind of, got shifted and I had to all of a sudden make actor friends now that,
Hmm.
my school friends were all off doing other things. So, on our lot, because we used to film on Hollywood Center Studios.
Right.
So we were over at one studio and I got a call from my manager because she repped one of the kids over at Kickin' It.
Sure.
And so she was like, hey, there's this new Disney show that just started across the lot from you. Maybe during your lunch break, you could walk over there and say hi. And so I
Sure.
went over there to say hi to everybody, introduce myself. And Dylan, of course, plays Milton. So he was one of the kids over there. And that was really cool because during the time filming Sonny with a Chance, all the other cast members were much older than me on
Sure.
my show. So Demi was kind of the one that sort of bridged the gap, but she was still on the older end and she was graduating at the time while I was still like 12. And so it was very
Oh,
much kind
sure.
of like I was the little sister and she, she was like 17. So it's like she fit in with like them and they would all like go to
Hmm.
dinner or like start a group chat. And it's like, I don't think I even had a cell phone right
Right.
away at the
Right.
beginning. So it's like
You're
my
the
dad's,
kid sister.
yeah. I'm the only one who like my parent is bringing me to set. And so it's like my dad and his
Okay.
car and stuff. So it's like I would get invited to less things because I'm like so much younger.
You're the little kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they were all like super, super nice and everything, but I didn't have that like friendship and like
Hmm.
that kind of like, these are my people, this is my social circle. So when the Kickin' It cast started working there, they were all my age. So all of a sudden
Nice.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. I've got a bunch of kids
Yeah.
my age
Finally.
here on the lot. Yeah. So I would run over to their set and hang out with them a lot, and
Sure.
especially Dylan as well. And we'd start
Hmm.
like playing pranks on, our
Oh,
castmates and stuff.
perfect.
And yeah, running around. The director of Sonny with a Chance, Eric Dean Seaton, would make fun of me a lot because I'd be coming back in from lunch like a minute or two late. He'd be like, "Oh, you over at the Kickin' It cast set? Like you
Yeah.
hanging out with a certain somebody?" I was like, "Shut up,
Yeah.
Eric."
Gotta maximize my time. Leave me alone.
Yeah, he
That's so
knew because
cool.
he picked up pretty quickly that I liked Dylan because like Dylan and I
Yeah.
were always like bouncing back
Just
and
like
forth between each
you guys
other's
would pair
sets.
off and off to the
Yeah,
side. So
yeah.
that's so cute. So when you and Dylan started hanging out, you guys were as friends at first. And how old were you guys at the time when you kind of started like being, kid dating, we'll call it?
Well, the thing is that we didn't kid date. We were just like, we were like 13, 14 and we just liked each other. But when you're 13, 14,
Yeah.
you don't do anything about it.
No.
So we just kind of stayed friends for a while. And then like after a couple years, like we both started dating people. I know that like I started dating somebody and he was like gonna ask me out, but then he found
Ah,
out I had a boyfriend and just sort of like the timing just like
missed.
kept
Yeah.
not working out.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so like we weren't ever like both single at the same time.
Okay.
And we ended up actually, it's pretty funny because I'll get these Facebook memories that pop up of us on double dates with other people. So it'll be
Oh,
like
weird.
us with like our exes like hanging out and like going to dinner and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah,
That's
because
great.
we were just like really close friends growing up, and just kind of like we're always like dating other people, and
Hmm.
and yeah, and so I remember even being on a couple of those double dates and like listening to Dylan talk and being like,
Yeah.
man, I wish I spent more time with this
Yeah.
guy, and
Can
like
we
I want to
switch?
switch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
this
that's so
guy's
funny.
way cooler. This is more
So much
fun to
cooler than
hang
this
out with
other
him.
sucker. Oh, that's neat. So how long have you guys
Exactly.
been together then officially?
So yeah, we started officially dating in 2015, and
Okay.
so we're coming up on 6 years.
Nice. Well, congrats. And you
Yeah,
got married
thank
at
you.
end of 2019, is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, which it's a difficult thing to try to look up because we we kind of had like multiple weddings, and also I don't post things the day
Sure.
that I'm doing them just from previous like stalker experience. What
Yeah.
I'll do is like if
Good
I'm
call.
somewhere, yeah, it's like, if I'm like at a restaurant or if I'm at like
Hmm.
a, Disneyland or something, I'll post the pictures the next day so that if
That's
anybody
smart.
is in that vicinity, they're not
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I
Which,
know exactly where
yeah.
she is."
Which they might
But
be, you
yeah,
never know.
exactly. I know. Did that happen to Dylan one time? He was at a
What?
restaurant with a friend, and a friend took a photo of them, and the name of the restaurant was on the menu. And
Oh,
somebody
shit.
showed up while they were eating to be like, "Hi,
Oh,
Dylan Snyder. I'm a big fan." I
oh,
was
I
like,
guess you are.
"What?" Yeah,
Jeez.
it's
You must
super
be.
weird.
That's
Yeah, what you
creepy.
have to kind of look out for. but
Yeah.
but yeah, I so for the wedding I was posting the photos the next day, so a bunch of people thought that we got married on the 19th instead of the 18th, and
Oh,
a lot of the
okay.
kid magazines, they just like they kind of like copy and paste your
Yeah.
Instagram post, so they just sort of like
They
fill
don't
it with
check.
being like their couple goals, lol, and I'm like,
Oh
you're
God.
this is not journalism.
Yeah, no, you just
But
snagged it from my stuff.
yeah, I know. I remember even one of them said like you could tell that they were gonna go back and do research and fill in the blanks, and then they forgot to
Oh,
fill in the
oh
blanks.
no.
So it was something where it was like the blank year old actress, and I was like, good job,
Oh,
good
nice.
job.
Nice you
It's like
did
if
the
anything, just
zero
guess my
zero.
age.
Yeah. Just go on Wikipedia. Come on, that's what everyone
But
should do.
yeah, but
Oh,
we
that's funny.
also we had kind of several weddings almost because
Sure.
we got married privately. We went out on the water with just our parents
Oh,
and my
nice.
sister.
Mhm.
Yeah, which was absolutely beautiful.
That's great.
Because yeah, Dylan's father passed away a few years
Mm.
before that in a car
Oh, damn.
accident.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so we knew that that was going to be kind of like an emotional
Yeah.
moment for the family. So we were like, let's make the ceremony,
Keep it
like the
small.
official ceremony. Yeah, just kind of like
Mhm.
private. So yeah, so we did that privately on the 18th, and then that weekend we had like a big reception party here in Los Angeles.
Sure.
So we pretty much just
Cool.
like rented out a warehouse, got like a bunch of like
Yes.
pool tables and foosball tables and
Amazing.
ping pong, and just put
Mhm.
board games on every table. And it was
That
just
sounds
kind
like
of
a
like,
blast.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to do a formal sit down dinner. Let's just do
Yeah.
like those standing cocktail
Yep.
tables and
The
just
high
like,
tops. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that
And I
sounds
have
like
a
a
fun,
blast.
yeah, I have a fun story about Jimador Tequila as well because they
Ooh.
supplied the tequila for our wedding
Oh, nice.
as well. But yeah, so we had that on the 21st of
Okay.
September, and then the following weekend we went to Alabama so that we could have a second ceremony and reception with
Cool.
all of Dylan's family out there.
Double the pleasure. I
But
like it.
yeah, after 2 weeks of weddings, we were
Oh
just
my
like
God. Just like
exhausted.
partied
Like
out.
I don't want any more weddings. We
No.
don't need to renew vows at any
No,
point in our
no,
lives.
that's oh man, that had to be fun, but yeah, it's exhausting, and people always tell you you won't really remember a lot of your wedding night. It'll just go by in a flash, and like, so it's cool you
Yeah.
guys got to do it twice just to kind of mash all those memories together into one big party. That's neat.
Yeah, we for Christmas of that year for 2019, we were giving Dylan's grandmother a like framed photo of the family, and to
Sweet.
put the date on there, I think we put like September 23rd, and then we were looking at it printed out later, and we were like, that's not right. We were like, why did we put the 23rd? and
We
so
don't even
and
know.
so yeah, we were like, it's not the 23rd, it's the 28th. So we were like, okay, that's an easy fix. So we like drew in like
Oh,
carefully the
nice.
turn the 23 into the 28th, and
Yeah,
we were
you
like,
have
there.
to.
And then we framed it and we gave it to her, and then we were like, it was the
Hmm.
29th. Oh no, we got it wrong a
We
second
fudged
time.
it wrong. We did this wrong.
Yeah,
We corrected it
because we were
wrong.
like, yeah,
Oh,
because we were
it's
like,
so
oh
funny.
yeah, because we knew that it was the following weekend, but we were like, oh no,
Yeah.
we thought it was that Saturday, but it was actually Sunday because the football game, and we didn't want.
Ah.
We knew that nobody would come in Alabama
No,
if
that
it was
would
the same day
clash.
as the
Yeah, that's
football
that's
game.
everything in Alabama, right? Football.
Yep,
Oh, that's funny. So,
yep, yep, yep.
I was wondering, we talked earlier about people recognizing you and
Mhm.
from your Disney days compared to like your AP Bio days. How many people would you say that recognize you, do you think recognize you from Disney, and how many from AP Bio? Any idea?
So yeah, I think there's probably a lot more people that recognize me from AP Bio that don't say anything,
Uh,
because there's a difference kind of between like children seeing a celebrity in public and then like
mhm.
an adult who, they might not want to go bother somebody, whereas
Yeah.
a kid will run up and bear hug me in Target and be like,
Yeah.
Zora. So
That's a good point.
yeah, it's like I think like the couple people who have recognized me or spoken with me, they're
Mhm.
like really like kind of casual and chill about
Yeah.
it. So it's like they might not ask for a photo, or it's like, it might be
Yeah.
somebody ringing me up at the grocery store and they're like, you're Heather, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh hey, cool, it's nice to
Hey,
meet you. So it's
cool.
just like very laid back. So I
Yeah.
kind of have a hard time knowing exactly how many people are recognizing me as Heather, because I
Right.
think that they kind of, clock that they know me and then they don't say
Yeah,
anything.
they're low key about it and they don't hug you
Yeah.
necessarily each time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think the glasses definitely are a game
Yeah.
changer that,
Hmm.
without the glasses, it's definitely
Yeah.
a little bit harder.
Yeah.
What I've
Glasses and
what I've
braids without
realized,
that.
yeah, what I've realized is that people will recognize my face and not know where I'm from, because I'll get a lot of
Oh,
people who are like, "Did you go to this high school?" And I'm like, "Nope." And they're like,
no.
where do I like, I've met you.
TV high school. It's TV high school.
Yeah. I'm like, I was in your living room every Sunday
Yes.
night for several years.
Yeah, correct. That is so funny. Um,
Yeah.
so I love the story about how your audition went for AP Bio. It's a great story. If you don't mind telling it again for our listeners, I would love
Yeah.
it if you did because it's genius.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember getting the audition and it said that I was supposed to be playing a 16-year-old, like a 15, 16-year-old. And I was like, I'm not gonna get this, but I'm not doing
Perfect.
anything that day. I guess I'll go in on the audition
God,
anyway.
I'm glad you did.
And thank you. And so yeah, so I the only character description that I gave was 𝗵cie. It just said big glasses and 𝗵cie. And I was like, all right, that doesn't really give me much to work with, but I guess let's see. And so I just kind of dressed in my normal, like, I have that section of my closet that's kind of like
Sure.
audition clothes and some quirkier outfits. So I just wore this like knitted shirt and I
Hmm.
have like a bin full of like fake glasses and stuff that I can pull out.
Perfect.
And so yeah, I pulled out the largest glasses that I had, put my hair in braids because I was like, let me try to make myself look as young as possible.
Yep. Braids will
And
do it.
so so I got to the audition like waiting room, and the other girls who were going in for Heather were super super charactery.
Oh,
And I've talked about this before, but I kind of fall in this weird middle area of like my agents can send me out for like the cheerleader, but they can also send me out for the nerd, and it's like depending on how I'm dressed and if I'm wearing
yeah.
makeup, I can kind of like go back and forth between those. But sometimes casting directors, they want somebody who's very, very much like categorized. So it's like this girl plays cheerleaders and
Hmm.
this girl plays nerds. And so it's like sometimes they want that like very cliche, like
Yep.
this person embodies exactly what we were picturing. So I saw that all these other girls were charactery, and I was like, okay, so they're definitely looking for somebody who like is very much like a character, not just kind of
Hmm.
like, oh, real world, like, she's a little bit quirky. It's like, no, they want somebody who's
Yeah.
like stands out.
Yeah.
So I remember also being like, okay, what are high schoolers like? What do high schoolers look like? How do high schoolers act? And I was like, high
Mhm.
schoolers are just always sweaty. So I just like went
I
into the
love that.
bathroom. Yeah, so I did a bunch of jumping jacks and I kind of like messed up my hair, and I was
Oh
like, I
my
just need to
God.
go in really sweaty.
Accurate.
Yeah, so I went in super sweaty, and it was like a split second decision as I was entering the room that I was like, I need to like give this character a voice or something. So I just like
Right.
doing it
My
out loud
God.
in the audition was the very first time that I tried that voice. I was like, and
That's
and
priceless.
yeah, I stayed in character the whole time too, because
Oh,
a lot of people, they just don't have the imagination, or it's like,
yep.
if they see that you're clearly acting and putting on a voice, then it like loses its reality for them.
Yes.
Where I was
That's
like, let me
genius.
just be this person for these 2 seconds, they'll like
Hmm.
believe it, and then they'll think that I'm this charactery person.
Oh my God. So
Yeah, so
did
I
I
stayed in character. Yeah.
that's incredible. Did I remember hearing something about one of the crew members saying something to you afterwards about your audition about how they thought you were that
The
person?
creator of the show. Yeah, the creator of the
Mike.
show. We were enjoying like lunch together on one of the days, and he was like, I was really surprised to find out that you were normal. He was like, I didn't know you were like a normal person. I thought
That
that
is
was your real voice.
that is magical that you were
Yeah.
so convincing as that character. Of course, that's why you got it. Jeez.
Yeah, he was like, I thought you were just accidentally perfect for the role. And I was like,
Amazing.
we're actors, that's what we do. Just
Don't you
trust us
know?
to like
I've been doing this since I was 4. Get real.
Yeah. I was like, because of people like you,
Yes.
that's why I had to stay in character the whole
Yes,
time.
of course. God, that's so smart. Kudos to you on that. Just playing the character
Thank you.
through and
Thank
through
you.
from front to back. So you mentioned the glasses. Now, I've always been curious. Can you see a damn thing through those
No.
glasses? Do
No.
they make you dizzy?
The glasses have actually changed each
I bet.
season, because of me being like, all right, we're doing another full season of this.
Yeah,
We need to figure this out.
right.
Because for the pilot, it was just, a pair of glasses that they had pulled out of, the
Sure.
prop house, like
Yep.
Universal's prop house. And they, it's pretty much just like holding up big magnifying lenses to your
Hmm.
eyes.
Yeah, I
Like
bet.
just, you hold your like hand in front of your face, and it just looks
Yep.
like a big circle. Like
Oh my
everything's
God.
just insanely blurry. scary.
You gotta get
Can't see.
mobile. So what do they do?
Oh yeah, I know. I could not see anything, which was fine for the pilot
Right.
because I was just sitting in my desk the whole time. I stand up at one point, but it's like I had one line. It wasn't a big deal, and like
Sure.
we had no idea if the show was even going to get picked up. We didn't know like how big this character was going to be. I was cast as like a reoccurring character, so we
Sure.
had no idea like, oh, was I going to be in like 3 episodes or all 13?
Yeah.
There was no telling, so they didn't want to make like a pair of custom glasses just for the pilot.
At that expense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah,
sense.
exactly. So I was just wearing these prop glasses, and there's supposed to be a way for you to see through them. There's like it's like magnifying lenses, but like with a tiny kind of like hole of
Oh, like
normal
the hole in
glass
there. Okay.
in the middle. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you look at pictures of Heather really close up, you can kind of see that there's like a little kind of like dent or like a little
Oh,
hole in the
okay.
middle
That's the
where you're
the golden.
supposed to be able to. Yeah, you're supposed to
Yeah.
be able to see through that. But since they weren't like cut to my eyes and like my face shape, they
Sure.
didn't line up properly with my eyes. They
Oh,
were like
God.
way too far
It's like
apart and
your eyes
low.
are
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that they were men's glasses. I think that they were
Sure.
very much not meant for a
Oh, for
tiny
smaller.
female face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny face.
so
Little tiny
so
face
yeah,
here.
I know, yeah. So they didn't fit me in the slightest, and I couldn't see anything. And I remember throughout season one, as the Heather character was,
Mhm.
like becoming a fan favorite, they kept giving me more and more to do. And it would be
Sure.
like I'm running up and down stairs and
Oh
I'm
my
jumping on a
God.
couch. And like there was the whole like party scene that we did
Yep.
that was completely out of the classroom.
Oh
And
my
and
God.
I just remember every time reading the script being like, damn it, no, like I can't
I
I can't
can't.
do this. Someone needs to tell him. And like
God.
wardrobe would try to put me in heels, and I was like, guys, you
Oh.
cannot put me in heels.
Oh
I
my
can't see
God.
anything. Like every time that we were doing blocking for a scene, because my castmates knew, like
Yep.
my student cast, they knew that I couldn't see out of them.
Sure.
So I would kind of communicate with them during us blocking a scene to be like, I'm gonna grab onto your backpack when we're exiting the
Yep.
classroom,
Okay.
or like I would have
Just
to like
eat it.
count my steps, and like I would ask other kids like, are you gonna get out to the left or to the right? Because like I need to
No
know. Because I was
collision.
just pretty much, yeah, I was just counting steps, and then the camera department would like move a desk over to fit the camera
Oh my
somewhere, and
God.
so I was always like, that's why it's like
Crashing.
I kind of, yeah. So it's like if you watch like season one Heather, I'm
Yep.
like tripping on everything, and I'm kind of like I've got my arms out and like that whole like
Yeah.
mouth agape thing, just
Oh
like
God. I
bumbling
feel like that
around.
works though. It works. The whole mouth breather
Yeah.
thing just kills me so much. God,
Thank you.
it
Yeah.
slays
So
me.
I kind of incorporated the clumsiness into the
It's
character body language.
dynamite. Yeah. It's
But
perfect.
yeah, I was like, guys, this is a little bit dangerous. But it
Yeah.
was especially when we were filming the party scene
Hmm.
in the house party episode,
Great
and
scene.
Heather, thank you. Yeah, Heather was supposed to be pouring these shots of, I think it was bourbon,
Hmm.
and so they had these like shot glasses that were, a couple inches tall, kind of like some larger
Yep.
ish shot glasses.
Sure.
But even still, just like looking at this bottle of alcohol and looking at this tiny glass, I was
Oh
like,
my God.
I'm not going to be able to pour this. And my other castmates were there, like, they're like, if you put the neck of the bottle in there,
Yeah.
maybe like you'll
Hmm.
make sure you get it. But I remember going for it the first time, and I was pouring and I had no idea where
Oh
the top of the
God.
line was. So it started overflowing all over my hand, and I'm
It's
like
perfect.
laughing, and I'm trying to hand it to Jacob Houston.
Yeah.
And then I try to pour the other one. I completely
Oh
miss, and
God.
we're like trying to drink it. And it's like they're filled all the way up to the top. So it like
Hmm.
takes us several gulps,
Several.
and
Yeah.
it looked like a disaster.
Oh
And
my
I think
God.
because I filled it so full, they were like, oh, it needs to be less in order to like register as a shot. So they bring out
Sure.
these teeny
Oh my
tiny
God.
shot glasses.
What
They
the
were like,
hell?
these ones will be better. And I was like, oh no. And so
Will
it's like
will
I
they?
go for that one, completely miss. And there's just like it's spilling everywhere.
Jealous.
Everybody's
Oh
cracking
my
up.
God.
And they're like, Allison, are you method acting? And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't see.
I can't. How did
And so
no one how
I
did no one
heard this
get you
like
glasses that could
I
work?
know.
Like what?
I heard this like collective, like from the whole crew, just like a, oh, like that was the
Oh.
first time they realized I couldn't see through the glasses.
What? That
It's like,
whole
guys,
what the
yeah, I was like,
hell?
we're on episode 8, and
Have
like
you
you've
not
been
seen
making me
me?
run around, and I
Jeez.
was like,
Oh,
this is
that's
why I
too
keep
funny.
asking for specific blocking, and
Yes.
like if you guys move a desk, I'm like, please let me know.
Tell me so I don't smash my shins on something.
Yeah. And
Oh
so
my
then
gosh.
so then for season 2, so like the prop department also kept changing every year.
Sure.
And so it was a little bit easier because like they would bring the glasses, and they were like, oh, here's your glasses. And I would talk to them being like, hey, season 2 now, I think that my
Hmm.
character is going to be probably a bigger part of the show now
Right.
than, just the reoccurring that it was in the pilot. I was like, can we figure something out with the glasses? So
Yeah.
then they actually took me in to get the glasses cut to my face.
Okay.
And
That's
it
good.
was it was kind of like we had several iterations of the Heather glasses because they would cut them to my eyes, but
Mm-hmm.
it would be like they would put the frames on my face and see where it lined up with my pupils. But then the thing is that when they put the really, really thick glass in, it would
Oh,
drag down my
yep.
nose. So then all of a
Oh
sudden
my
I couldn't
God.
see out of them anymore. So they had to kind of figure out this
Yeah.
balance of like the heavy glasses and like,
Mm-hmm.
how to make them sit properly on my face and like building up like kind of like bridge support and
Yep.
stuff. So it was kind of this
Oh my
ongoing, like trying to get the
God.
glasses figured out. And we
Just a
finally
science
found a
to it.
pair. Yeah.
That's
We found a
incredible.
pair that everybody was happy with because, of course, creators, writers, everybody
Yeah.
wanted the glasses to be as big and magnified
Oh,
as
of
possible.
course.
And then prop
Yeah.
department and safety, everybody was like, they just need to be like
Yeah. They weigh
actually
2
safe.
pounds. That's so
Exactly.
funny. So thick glasses, mouth agape, weird voice. You don't seem at all like Heather from AP Bio. Are you like her in real life in any way?
I think that what I always tell kids who are getting into acting or anybody who's getting into acting, because I teach some acting classes, and I always say, like, try to find the overlap between you and your character. Like, don't try to create this character out
Right.
of thin air that's like, she loves this and she loves this, and I'm this completely different person.
Yeah.
It's like, try to find, that overlap and then just, make that a part of your personality. So it's
Sure.
like, it feels more like a shift as opposed to trying to become somebody
Yeah.
completely new.
Reinvent.
Yeah. So it's like, I just kind of like, I'm a slightly more like awkward and geeky version of myself, but I
Sure.
try to keep true to that kind of like, that there's like a level of confidence to Heather that I don't think they were originally anticipating to
Sure.
be a part of her character. The original catfish message was the only line in the pilot, and so it was just kind of like, this dirty thing that you're not expecting to come out of this
Right.
petite girl. Yeah, and so I think I embodied that on set, and the writers enjoyed, seeing me in this
Mm-hmm.
full like, my hair braided and these big
Yep.
glasses and these dorky little sweaters and stuff, and I'm chatting with my castmates behind the scene about like Fight Club and drinking and all this crazy stuff, and they're like, that's fun. They're like, we like this, we like
Sure.
her being the one that surprises you because she doesn't look like this
Yeah.
would be coming out of her. So they kind of actually adapted the character to be pretty much just me but looking like
Mm-hmm.
a dork. And so
It's cool to see. It's cool to see that how that morphs as the show goes on too. And I'm sure
yeah.
as little things get incorporated, that's kind of become what you're known for,
I
which is
know,
really
yeah.
neat.
Season
Yeah.
3, all of a sudden Heather was like super
Yeah.
into horror stuff, and I was
Right.
like, that's literally, I
Hmm.
was like, you guys are
That's
just
familiar.
like basing this off of me now, which
They're
is
eavesdropping
awesome.
on
But
you. Yeah.
yeah, because now Heather's super into horror, and with the
Yeah.
whole like the cleaver and the butchering the pigs
Oh
and
my God,
everything.
that
Like,
scene is just dynamite. I rewatched it again
thank
before this
you,
because I
thank
just
you.
love it so much.
Yeah.
And then you and Dan cleaning up afterwards, the mopping.
That was slippery. You can
But
see me
it
grab
looks
onto
like it
him
was.
several
Yeah, so
times.
that's real. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
They were
method. You're
just like,
so
let's
method.
pour, yeah, they were like, let's just pour slimy goop all over the floor.
Oh
And I was
my
like,
God.
dope, I'm in platform shoes and I already
Yeah.
can't see.
I
This is
have no
great.
helmet on, so be careful. Luckily, Dan was there to help cradle you and not make you fall, especially in those shoes. So,
Yep.
speaking of Heather and Dan, what's the latest? What's the latest on Heather and Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't gotten any of the scripts for season 4 yet. We
Hmm.
should be starting to film here in a month or two. So I
Yes.
guess we'll see what is in store for Heather and Dan. I think that the writers have to walk this fine line of,
Hmm.
they want to give the audience what they want of like these, relationships and everything, but also
Yeah.
we're children. So it's like they
Yes.
don't want to do like, super intense like romantic stuff with kids who are supposed to be
Yeah.
playing like
High schoolers.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they try to make it as like, flirty and fun, but also
Sure.
innocent as possible.
Kind
So
of
it's
walk
like,
the line.
yeah, they'll have Heather and Dan like holding hands, or like he'll put his
Yeah.
arm around her. And it's kind of these like, sort of like in actual school, like these moments where
Yeah.
you're like, ooh, they're a thing. And it's like no
Yeah.
big deal at all.
And a bunch of firsts like that too, the holding hands thing and the special moments.
Yeah.
One of the warmest scenes between you two was in the sewer when you lost your glasses on the ground and he picks them up, helps
Yes.
you, and puts them on for you, which you probably
I
needed that
know.
help, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so Spence actually saved my life while we were filming those scenes.
What?
We were
Did the
okay.
Rat
So
King
in
actually come?
Well, in the tunnels, the bottom is slanted, so it was already super hard to
Oh,
walk in there
sure.
because there's no actual flat surface.
Oh,
And they
damn.
had the camera on these wires, and so they were these really, really long tunnels, and they had the camera on a wire, and they were trying to do this thing where they would run past us as we're running this
Oh,
direction,
sure.
or like we would all run at the camera. But we were doing this one scene where all of us were like, I think running either I think we were running away from the Rat King in that scene.
Hmm.
And so we were all running towards the camera. We did it once or twice like that. And then without telling us, they started moving the camera at us for one of the
Oh,
takes. Like they just didn't
okay.
communicate that to us
Sure.
because they figured that we would just still avoid the camera.
Just go
But I
with it.
couldn't see that now the camera was
Of
coming at
course.
us. And so we have to like duck out of the way when the camera comes
Yep.
by, but I didn't know that it was coming at us. So Spence had to like, as the camera was coming at us in the middle of the scene, he like grabbed me and like pulled me to the wall. I was like, I
Oh
almost
my
got my teeth knocked out.
Yeah, right. And they
Yeah.
still don't know you can't see out of those damn things.
Yeah. I know. I had to like stop and be like, guys,
Guys,
communicate with me. No one's
yes.
telling me
Oh my
anything.
God. We're not just like shooting from the hip here. Let's
Yeah.
warn Heather. Oh
I
man.
was like, yeah, like thank you, Spence, for like football, like tackling me
Yeah,
down
just
to the wall.
completely checking you out of the way, tackling you out of the way.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
quick question. There's a lot of heavy hitters on this show with you, namely Glenn Howerton, Patton Oswalt, and the genius Paula Pell. I mean, they're all geniuses,
Hmm.
but Paula Pell finally is in
Yes.
front of the camera more. She's been a writer forever and she's hilarious. What
Hmm.
was it like? What was it like coming onto the set for the first, couple of weeks with those people, and how familiar were you with them ahead of time?
Extremely familiar with them. Yeah, unlike my Sonny with a Chance days where, I didn't
Oh
know
my
all these
God.
Disney actors.
Yeah.
I'm, a huge fan of these guys. And, I'm a big It's Always Sunny fan. I
Oh yeah.
literally in the background, I know viewers can't see, but I have like these little matchboxes
Oh
where it's
yeah.
the
I
Always
do.
Sunny characters painted onto
No
them.
way.
And yeah,
What?
and so it was a gift from my old roommate. And so my old roommate and I, that was like a huge thing we bonded over, was watching It's
Nice.
Always Sunny
Sure.
together. And so it's like we would wake up every morning and like eat breakfast and like watch It's Always Sunny. And
Oh,
so
cool.
that was like a huge staple of my life and my comedy style and everything. And
Yeah.
so when I booked the show, because it again,
My
the
God.
pilot was just like this, one line. It was this small character, and like, I didn't really think that much of it. I was just kind of like, oh cool, it'll be like a little guest role on
Yep.
this show. And then Dylan was looking it up on IMDb, and he was like, "Guess who's playing Jack Griffin?"
Oh my
And he was like,
God.
Glenn Howerton. I was like,
Holy
"Oh, that's
cow.
gonna be so cool!" I was like, "I'm gonna get to meet him." And then of course,
Yes.
several years later, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get to like steadily work with him and get to
Yeah.
know him," which
Oh,
is
it's
super
so
cool.
neat. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, Patton Oswalt is, known from literally everything. Like I'll go back
Everything.
and I'll rewatch like old shows, or I'll be like watching a movie something, and I'm
Yep.
like, why is Patton in everything? Everything you could ever
Right?
watch, Patton's in it.
Solid. He's worked in everything. Like, I
Yeah,
loved him
I
on King
know.
of Queens back in the day, and like his stand-up
Yeah.
is awesome. Just
Yeah.
everything. Pop
Oh
culture
my
in general.
God.
He's just the
Yeah.
man.
They're both just like absolutely hysterical, and I love them
Just
to death. And
juggernauts.
yeah, it was really interesting getting to work with both of them. They were like complete opposites. They were both like total sweethearts, but like
Hmm.
Patton is the kind of person who like will go out of his way and like introduce him to like himself to every single
Yep.
person, and like he will remember like your pets names and your
Oh
parents
wow.
names, and he'll like ask you about things. Like he'll be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, so how did that like one thing go? Like you were doing this and this,"
Yeah.
and like he like remembers everything,
Oh
which is
man.
really cool. And he's
It's
just like
incredible.
way too friendly. You're like, how are you like this big and have
How are
worked in the
you?
industry for this
Yes.
long and still friendly? But I guess that's
Not a
why he's in
jerk.
everything. Yeah, everybody
Exactly. People
wants to
love
work
him.
with him.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
definitely.
he's just like insanely sweet, just like the nicest person you'll ever meet. And then
Hmm.
Glenn is very like Juilliard trained actor, like
Oh
very
yes.
like kind of serious, and like
Hmm.
he takes acting and like comedy and everything really seriously.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to like watch him work and kind of like discover new ways to like say
Hmm.
the line. Like every take that he'll do is like a little bit different, and he like
Yeah.
goes off on these like improv tangents that you can tell are very like, It's Always Sunny kind of
Hmm.
vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the student cast at first. We were all a little bit intimidated by Glenn, and we didn't
Yeah.
know because, like, we had Patton who was coming up and like talking to all of us and asking us about our lives, and then we had like Glenn who would kind of like sit alone in a chair, and
Hmm.
we were like, I don't want to
Totally
like
different.
disturb him or anything, and like we didn't know if he liked us or not. But then once we started doing scenes with him one on one,
Oh
because
sure.
then all of a sudden the students would be out of the classroom and like
Yep.
doing something like oh, he comes over to the house, or like we're doing a mission or something. And as soon as we were like out of the classroom setting where there was like, 17 people and it was
Mhm.
just like kind of like us and Glenn, or like two of us and Glenn kind of thing, he would like all of a sudden have like a 30-minute conversation with you that would
Oh,
get like
wow.
really deep. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. He's just not like comfortable in large groups. He
Yeah.
just
He's
wants to
just
like have
one-on-one.
individual
Cool.
conversations with people.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, after we all started to slowly have our like individual scenes with him, we were like,
Mhm.
he's a really great person, but he just likes talking to people
Yep.
one on
More of
one.
the introvert style kinda.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's from Alabama, where my husband's from, and so like
Oh,
we've
yeah.
talked a lot about that, and like he's
Sure.
really into horror. And
Common.
Glenn, like, yeah, like I was talking with Glenn about writing and just kind of asking him about like the pitching process for Always Sunny, and he filled me
Mhm.
in on a bunch of that. And like because I was telling him that I was working on a pilot, and so he had me send over like all my materials, and he like
Wow.
read my script and watched like one of my pilots, and like
Damn.
was like, he called me with all these notes and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is extremely helpful, and
That's
like, thank
amazing.
you
What a
for
guy.
giving me the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, he's just like,
Cool.
he is so nice in a very opposite way from
Yeah,
Patton.
just a different
Yeah.
way. Well, that's really good to hear. That's really neat to hear that there's such different styles of people, but they're both super cool. That's nice to hear that about anyone in Hollywood, really, and those guys especially.
Yeah.
They just seem like they're as cool as hell, and that's good that they are actually in
Yeah.
person. Cool.
I know. And of course I don't feel like I have to tell you guys that Paula is nice. I
Oh
feel like
God,
everybody can
Paula.
just gather
She seems
that.
God, she'd be
Yeah.
fun to party with. I'm gonna just throw that out there. Paula seems like she'd just be a riot at parties.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's herself on and off camera, like
Sure.
just very, very loud, very honest, very
Yeah.
just everything that comes out of her mouth will make you chuckle.
Yeah, she's just so endearing on the show too. I just love that about her character, and I'm glad to hear that she's like that in real life. So that's really cool.
Yes, yeah.
And I know you
Exactly.
mentioned, I know you mentioned that obviously it got picked up for the fourth season. It was announced back in December. That is
Mhm.
amazing. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
When did
Yeah.
you find out? Like, I know when we found out the end of December. When did you find out? What was that like?
So they don't let the cast know anything ever.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we found out on Twitter.
Oh God.
So, like we
All
all
right.
found out on Twitter. People would text us being like, congratulations. We're like, on
You're
what?
like, what did we do?
Yeah, every season it's been that way. Like
Really?
everybody else finds out before us. And
Huh.
so
The
we
industry
all have to
people
kind of,
know before
yeah,
you, huh?
keep an ear out. Yeah, and it's funny because my sister works with the prop department, and she finds out stuff way before I do. Like she'll be
Oh,
like,
sure.
oh, and she'll be like, oh, and then the talent show episode, we've got this, and I'm like, what talent
Huh?
show episode?
What it
She's like,
what?
oh, you don't have the scripts for like 3 weeks from now, and I was like,
I
no, we
do.
don't. I
You're like,
was
"Can I
like, I
get a
get them
copy?"
emailed. Yeah, I was like, I get the script emailed to me like a day
Sure.
before.
Oh, wow. You gotta memorize your lines the day before. Oh, all right. Are you're
Yeah.
pretty good at memorizing lines, I've heard. Is that you're like, that's
Yes,
your thing?
I think that yeah, I have pretty good short-term memory, and I think that my entire childhood shaped me to be this person where I can memorize like really large like scripts or monologues or anything very quickly, but
Mhm.
then I push it right out of my brain. So it's kind of like everything that I did growing up. The school that I went to before
Sure.
Sunny with a Chance, it was like a college prep school, and it was
Okay.
all about the standardized testing. Like that was
Oh my
pretty
god.
much 90%
Nightmare.
of our curriculum was just studying for the standardized testing,
Oh,
taking the
man.
test, and then studying for the next one. It was like every test that we could possibly take, we were taking.
Oh,
And
geez.
so we kind of learned this way of learning where it was like, just like retain all this information
Yep.
overnight, like take the test and then push it all out of your brain. You will never need it again.
Oh
Let's
my
learn the
god.
next batch of
Oh,
things.
wow.
So it's like that's how I went to school. It wasn't like, the repetition and, the growing in knowledge and things. It was just kind
Sure.
of like memorize something. You don't have to understand it as long as you can memorize it for tomorrow.
Right.
And then, with scripts as well, it's like, I'd go on these auditions and they would like hand you this set of sides and I would just memorize it. And then, I might not ever get called back. Or if I do get called back, I'm like, wait, what was that again? And then I would
Wait,
have to
what?
re-memorize the script, and
Yeah,
same thing. And, on the day of shooting. And then it's like, I never need that again. Like I will never, ever need this
sure.
again. So yeah. So it's like trying to learn like
Ugh,
languages or memorize anything long term. It's
yeah,
like, it doesn't
that
stick.
short term, just push it out onto the next thing to memorize, push that out. That's,
Yeah, like I'll play memory games with Dylan sometimes where it's like we'll shuffle up a deck of cards and we'll like
mhm.
put them out one by one and we'll say each one. So we'll be like, okay, 3 of hearts, and then we'll be like 7 of diamonds, and so we'll be like 3 of hearts, 7 of diamonds. We'll put out the
Yep.
next one, we'll be like 3 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, like king of
Oh my
spades, and
gosh.
we
Yeah.
we try to like memorize a full
Yeah.
deck, and we're both really really good at memorizing
Wow.
the deck, but he can retain it longer than I
Okay.
can. So like a week later, I can ask him and he'll still remember
Oh
most
my
of them.
god. He's saying it in
Where
his
it's like,
sleep.
Yeah, I don't remember it unless I'm repeating it every single day.
Sure. Wow. That's it's actually probably good then for shooting that you can memorize it, shoot it, and then be on to the next script. I've always thought that about like soap opera actors too. Like, my God, they're shooting
Yeah.
every day, different scripts. I can't imagine
Yeah.
like you'd have to
I
have just a
know.
great short-term memory for that.
Yeah, I know that AP Bio is a little bit easier because there's not as many rewrites and it's single
Mhm.
camera, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
less pressure to, get
Yep.
everything right every time. But when I was doing Sunny with a Chance, that was in front of a live audience.
Oh my gosh.
And also Disney and like sitcoms, they will rewrite in the middle of filming
Sure.
constantly.
Oh
So
my
like,
God.
you do this whole like 4-page scene where there's like somebody's jumping over a couch and there's like it breaks out into a food fight or whatever. And it's
Right.
like this whole big crazy scene and there's a lot of blocking that goes with it as well. And they've got like 4 cameras on you and a live
Oh
audience
my gosh.
and you'll do the scene, you'll nail it. And then the writers and the script supervisor will come up and they're like, okay, so line 13 is now this and line 26 is now this. And over here,
Oh.
you're going to move over here on this line instead. And like, they'll give you like 10 notes and like
Oh
all
my
these
God.
line changes. They're like, now you're going to say this word instead of this word. And then they'll be like, and action. And so
Oh
you're just
my
like,
gosh.
okay. And you just have
That's
to like
insane.
jump straight into it. Yeah. So you don't
Wow.
really even have time to like sit down with a new script. You just kind of
Oh
have
my
to be like,
gosh. Just go
erase
with it.
this and rewrite. Okay. Like I got it. I got it.
Dang.
And so it kind of trains you to be like really on your on your
Yeah, on your
toes.
game. I can't imagine what that's like. So,
Yeah. So I think
um,
that prepared me for anything.
yeah. Well, before we go on, do you have a hard out right now? I mean, this time has
No,
flown by. Okay, cool.
no,
So
not
you're
at all.
cool with a little longer? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right on. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So you're so busy. You've got all these things going on. You mentioned your artwork, obviously filmmaking, being on the show.
Mhm.
Tell me about your artwork. I know you have a lot of it behind you. In addition
Yeah.
to It's Always Sunny's Matchbox, you've had a passion since you were little. Your Etsy shop has some really rad stuff, and you are
Thank
currently
you.
raising money for the American Heart Association in celebration of Valentine's
Yes.
Day for the month of
Yes,
February.
I am.
20% off in February, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so it's
amazing.
20% off. Yeah, so it's like my little like better together sale. So
Yeah.
it's 20% off if you get 2 or more items and then an additional 20% of all my
Oh,
sales is being donated to American Heart
damn.
Association. So,
Stacking that on
yeah.
top of that. I love that. What is
Yeah.
your Etsy shop name?
It's the art of Allison. And
Okay.
so I just finally set up a link tree so that all of my like
Yes.
social media, everything is all linked together. Cause I was like, I never knew what
So
link to
much.
put in my bio. Yeah, because I've got the amount of stuff that I manage on social media is
Yeah.
chaotic.
It's
Like,
insane. I've
yeah.
seen
So
it.
I
Like
cause
the link trees is like 20
oh
things.
gosh, I know. And I had to narrow it down and figure out
Yeah.
like what I really cared about having on there because I was like, it's
Hmm.
just too overwhelming to have this many links because
Yeah.
I do all of my art stuff. And so I run, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for my art. And then I run Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for myself. And then I also have a personal Facebook page where it's like,
Hmm.
just me and family and stuff.
Yep.
And then I have for my production company as well, Watch the Footage. I have,
Yes.
Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for those as well. And then I have a web series that I do. And so it's called Astrid Clover. So I
Yes.
have, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram for there. And then I also have a TikTok for her too. And then I have to manage the YouTube channel. And like the funny thing is like people will be like, hey, I sent you a direct message. Did you see it? And I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
on where? I don't
I
know.
have 25 things. Come on.
Yeah. And I help my dad manage like his social media accounts for his
Sure.
band too. So I've
Oh my
got that.
gosh.
And like I also log into Dylan's as well to help him
Okay.
post things.
Oh
And
my
so it's like I'll
God.
get notifications and I'm like, I don't even know what account this is for.
Yeah. You're the social media manager for everyone. What's your dad's
Oh,
band's name? Let's plug them.
yeah, it's Pistol for Ringo.
Ooh,
And yeah,
I like it.
it's yeah, they are absolutely incredible. My dad does all the scores for my short films. And
Oh,
so my
right
dad
on.
is musician and composer. And so all of our short films you can see that
Yeah.
it's, it'll either say Steve Arm or it'll say like music by
Yep.
Pistol for Ringo. And so him and his band
Cool.
do all of our soundtracks,
That's
which is
so neat.
incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so it's we keep it all in the family and it's
Yes.
cool because we get to direct their music videos as well.
Perfect.
So
It's like a
yeah,
switch off. I love that.
yeah. If you look up Pistol for Ringo, they have a song called "Case of the Tuesdays." That was
Oh,
one of the recent
like
music
it.
videos that we shot for them, and it turned out really cool. I'm super happy with that
Nice.
one.
Yes.
It's that was a fun one to shoot because I wrote like a scene that leads into it, so it's kind of like a
Oh,
short film that then evolves into a music
okay.
video.
I dig that.
Yeah. And then there's also one music video we did for them for a song called Gemini, where we did it all in one take, and that one turned out really cool too.
Dang, that's so cool. The one take stuff is amazing. I love that. I'm gonna definitely check that out. I just watched Nasty Habits today.
Oh, thank you.
I dug that.
My dad did all the music for that, and then the
I
credits.
figured he probably did. I love the way it was
song
shot.
in the credits. Yeah, it's a pistol song as well.
Very
but
cool.
thank you. Yeah, we love that like desert landscape and the colors of that.
It's gorgeous. The colors were just so rich and full in there. I loved how that turned out.
Thank you.
And your talented husband was the director of photography on that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Dylan and I, we've been working together on short films pretty much from the second we started dating.
Sure.
Both Dylan and I had this like passion for telling stories, and he really, really loves like the technical side of the industry. While he was on Kicking It, he would start shadowing a bunch of people. So he would shadow like the, lighting team, and he would shadow like the audio team, and he would like ask every single crew member a bunch of questions, because he came from doing a lot of theater to because he was on Broadway, and then he moved out from New York to Los Angeles for Kicking It, and he saw all these positions that he hadn't really seen when you're doing theater, and all these people. He was like, what are you doing? Like what's your job? Because you see hundreds of people moving around behind the camera, and it's like, oh, they all have very specific jobs, and like it takes all of us to make this. And so he just asked so many questions, and he was always really interested in the technical end, but didn't really ever like actually go and pursue anything. It was kind of like, oh, this is cool to know, but like he didn't like go to school for it or anything.
It was on set for him. That's really neat.
Yeah, exactly. So he was very like hands-on learning about things while he was working there. And then for myself, being in the industry since a small child, my dad and I would film things over the weekend just for fun. Like, we were always like writing little home movies, and like every time we would go, visit our cousins, it's like I would rope my cousins into little short films and things, be like, okay, I wrote this script. And so it's like, most kids, they play pretend or they play dress up or something, but for me it was like, this is our wardrobe, and these are our characters, and like we're getting it on camera. And very like serious. They're pretty bad, most of the short films, but there was a couple that I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty good for like a 7-year-old writing a little short film.
A kid film.
Yeah, so it's like every single weekend I was always shooting projects, and like, my friends came to know that like, if they were going over to my house, instead of being like, oh, what movies should I bring, or like what snacks should I bring, it was like, okay, what's my wardrobe, like give me the script the day before at school. And like I would recruit parents as well, because I was like, we need somebody to play the mom. And so then I would call up my friends' parents and be like, hey, Miss Becky, can you come over like this time, and like you're gonna be playing Christy's mom. And
perfect. I love that.
And so I was always roping people in, but it was very like handheld camera, just kind of like, we weren't really thinking about the technical end of it. It was all about the story, and like creating these stories and recruiting these people, and like putting together the production, what goes on in front of the camera. So then when Dylan and I started working together, he was very focused on everything that was happening behind the camera, and I was very focused on everything that was happening in front of the camera. So we kind of used those strengths together, so that like he could help upgrade like all of our film equipment and our lighting equipment, and like tell us like, oh, we should get this like one track to put the camera on so we can get this kind of shot. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And like I can recruit the actors and write the projects and pick out their wardrobe and stuff. So yeah, it was really, really fun. And we work really closely with our friend Brian Morrison, who is an editor. That's what he went to school for. And so we kind of like, we started filling in all these positions with, close friends of ours who had always been doing their own short films. And now we all of a sudden we're like, oh, we can create a little team, and it'll make it a lot easier on all of us. Like instead of each of us wearing 20 hats, we can each wear 5 hats.
You can focus on what you're passionate about and what you're the best at. That's really cool that you're able to develop that. And it's called Watch the Footage, which is WTF, which I like.
Thank you.
Little naughty thing there, which is cool. So
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, Watch the Footage. Yeah, that name came from the web series, because that became like a catchphrase in the Astrid Clover web series a couple seasons in, because the Astrid Clover web series has been going on for, I think, almost 7 years.
That's insane.
which is crazy. Yeah,
That's
every
so
single
cool.
Friday we put out a new episode. We've never
So,
missed a
like,
week,
that's amazing. I'm
which
gonna
is
dig
yeah.
deep into that. I'm gonna dig deep into that. I
Oh,
promise.
good luck. Good luck. It's crazy.
And then we're gonna have to talk again because I'll be like having all these questions about that show.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like a little like, video diary almost of my
Yeah.
life. It very much
How
started to
amazing.
parallel everything going on. And it's really weird to watch old episodes because it
I
kind of
bet.
like, depending on who I was friends with at the time, they were the people that I was recruiting into the
Hmm.
video. So you kind of see like at like, friendships and then people move away or whatever. And so it's like kind of
Yeah.
documenting these very specific periods of my life.
That's
And
so
yeah,
priceless to
just
have
kind of
that.
what was going on at the time as well. And obviously last year was a lot of corona related things,
Yeah,
but each
for
year
sure.
before that is like based on current events and
Hmm.
stuff. So yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, so we have Watch the Footage Productions. We took our name from the Astrid stuff because
Right.
in the middle of an Astrid episode it'll start out in something chaotic and they're
Yeah.
like you're trespassing, and I'm like, no, we can explain, watch the footage, and then we
I love
reverse it. Yeah, so because of
that's
that catchprise we were like, oh, that abbreviates down into WTF.
I
That's kind of
like
like a
it.
fun little
Yeah, it's
fun
kind
little
of a nice
thing.
little thing.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about Room 566. That
Hmm.
trailer is awesome. It looks great.
Thank you.
I've not seen the film. Tell me about that and kind of what it has been leading to,
Yeah.
production
So
wise.
we have not released Room 566 yet, and I was actually talking with my manager and a publicist last week, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
because everything kind of got put on hold 2020,
Yep.
but this year's looking a lot more hopeful, and I'm looking to get into features, like writing and
Yes.
producing feature films, and I have this
Hmm.
one that we've built this great team with. We've got actors attached, and we've got some of our budget raised, and it's like shaping up to, it's looking pretty good right
Amazing.
now. But yeah, so we're using Room 566 as kind of like our pitch material
Hmm.
and showing potential investors kind of like what we do. So we made Room 566 specifically for that purpose. We were like,
Sure.
let's make something that's the same like style and tone as this feature that we're trying to push.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's all kind of about that like ominous, like suspenseful, like psychological thriller kind of vibe.
Hmm.
We're not about all those like blood and guts and
Yeah.
jump scares kind of thing. We like that, slow build stuff, like kind of Kubrick style. And so we
I
wanted to
love that
show
style
that
too.
we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. I'm excited for you. That's exciting too to see kind of what it can be. And when it
Thank
gets
you.
developed into something longer, I'm excited to see it.
Thank you.
Where do you, yeah, of course, you earned it. Where do you find your inspiration? What horror movies do you get inspiration from? And what are your favorite horror movies?
Yeah. So I like when things get really chaotic and out of hand, which is I
Hmm.
think why I'm a big fan of, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then I'm a big fan of, things like The Shining, where it's like it gets to
Yes.
this climactic crazy
Hmm.
build. And so it's like even though those are two very, very different things, it's like, also like Tarantino. It's like by the end of a
Hmm.
Tarantino film, you're watching Django Unchained and the whole foyer
Oh
is
my God.
covered in blood and you're like, oh my God. It's like
Yeah.
I just like when things escalate beyond your
Right.
expectations,
Yep.
just like it gets so chaotic that you can't even comprehend what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I've always just kind of like liked that build no matter what kind of like style and tone it is. So,
Hmm.
I'm just as big of a fan of like Silence of the Lambs as I am like Scream. And so,
Yeah.
Cabin
Wide
in the
range
Woods,
there.
Cabin in the Woods, I think is also a pretty good summary of kind
Yep.
of like my favorite style, where it's like it can
Oh,
be really dramatic and intense in some moments, and then it can be
yep.
super comedic in others.
I
And
love that.
yeah, we have this joke that Watch the Footage, all of our films are like the genre is just somebody dies. So it's like, sometimes it's a little bit more comedy, sometimes it's a little bit more
Yeah,
serious, sometimes it's thriller, sometimes it's horror, but it's just
sure.
like somebody dies. As long as somebody dies, it's a Watch the Footage film.
I love it. As long as someone dies, that's your tagline right there.
Exactly.
Well, cool. I've got some rapid fire questions if you want to hit those with me. We'll go on a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
rapid fire adventure, kind of just some whatever type stuff. We've been under quarantine and on lockdown. I don't even know what you call this period of time anymore. I just call it quarantine. Like my
Yeah.
wife and I both work from home. We don't really go out at all. We get our groceries delivered, from certain
Same,
stores.
all those. Yep.
Yeah. It like, why not just be safe? We're trying to convince my parents, like, get your damn groceries on Instacart or like have Walmart or Target or the local
Yep,
grocery stores deliver. They still haven't, but
absolutely.
all that aside, what is your favorite quarantine snack? Like, what do you go to when you have like a hankering for a snack?
Oh gosh. Yeah, Instacart is the death of me because you get all these things suggested to you and you're like,
Yeah.
no, I don't need this. I don't need
No.
yeah. So I saw one time it's the worst when you grocery shop while hungry.
Oh, the worst.
And so
Yeah.
I was grocery shopping while I was hungry and it pulled up frozen mozzarella sticks. I was
Oh,
like,
hell
ooh,
yeah.
that sounds really good. So I added it. And then when it was asking me like good replacements, it was like
Hmm.
instead of this like mega pack, would you also be cool with this one? And I was like, oh wait, I didn't realize it was like a 40 count, I think, like 40 count mozzarella sticks. And I was like, oh no, I didn't realize how big the box was. So it showed up and
Uh-oh.
took up like a whole section
Yeah.
of our freezer, which is these massive box of mozzarella sticks.
Hell yeah.
And they went way too quickly and we
Yeah.
ordered them again. And I was like, no,
No.
I'm so good about eating healthy. And then all of a sudden I started. And then now that I've ordered it before, Instacart suggests it
They
to me every
know.
time. And I'm like, you
Yes.
don't need to give me this temptation.
Don't tell your mom.
I'm like,
So
why don't you recommend fruit to me?
yeah, vegetables and fruit. So have you guys sprung and gotten an air fryer yet?
Oh, do we have I don't think we have an air fryer. We have like we have one of those like pots that you can boil
Like
like
a
the
instant
oil
pot.
in.
Or oh, like a deep fryer.
Yeah, deep fryer, and then we
Oh.
have that little, like, I think it's called a spider or something, I don't know. Dylan watches a
Mm,
lot of Good Eats and stuff, so
okay.
we have yet to actually try frying anything,
Okay.
but we have all these fancy new kitchen tools after getting
Nice.
married,
I
and
suppose. Yeah.
yeah, Dylan grew up watching a lot of, like, cooking shows, and so he has a much better
He
understanding of
knows.
cooking.
Yeah.
Me, I have to read the back of the packaging to make
Yeah.
spaghetti, like,
Boil and then
I
what? I don't even know.
yeah, I've got my, like, maybe 4 meals that I can cook really well,
Sure.
but then other than that, I'm kinda just, like, I can follow directions pretty well, but I, like, don't
Mhm.
have a good knack for being, like, like, "Oh, is the pasta ready?" I don't know,
I
or
don't
when it's,
know.
like, cooked to a
Ask
nice,
Dylan.
like, golden brown, I'm like, "Is this golden brown? I don't know."
Is
Like,
this
"Give me an
brown or
exact time, like, tell me exactly what wattage, exactly,
oh,
like, what
that's
heat
so
and
funny.
everything." Like, I
Yeah.
can't.
Keeping on the food thing, I've heard that you like pineapple on pizza.
I do like pineapple on pizza, and that becomes controversial, and I'm like,
It does.
"Why?"
Why? Why? I love it. What the
Yeah,
hell? We're on the same team
yeah.
here.
I
And
know. Yeah, I've never understood because I'm like I also like I because I'm a vegetarian, so I don't
Mhm.
eat meat.
Right.
And that people pick on you for that too. And I'm like,
Of
why?
course.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be one of those vegetarians that tries to pick on you for eating meat. So
Yeah,
like
like I'm not
let
gonna
me eat
shame
what I
you.
want to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like mushrooms, but nobody says anything about that. I'm like, okay, so you guys
Nobody.
want to pick on me for eating pineapple on pizza and for not eating meat, but
Yeah.
nobody cares that I don't eat mushrooms. Like, what's the difference
I
there?
don't
Like
get it. It's
why do
wrong to
some
not eat meat?
things
What?
yeah, which is why it's like some people will I'll be asking them about some kind of like sweets related something and they'll be
Mhm.
like, I mean, I don't like chocolate and they'll say it like it's this dirty little secret and I'm like, okay, like so
Yeah.
what you don't like
Yeah.
chocolate? There's
You
a
can like
plenty
other
of stuff that
stuff.
I don't like.
Yeah. What type of candy do you like? What's your go-to
I
candy?
like chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I personally love chocolate. I'm not a big sweets person in
Mhm.
general. I can't do like cake and
Okay.
super sweet things. But yeah, I'm a big fan of like really, really dark chocolates. Like I kind of like the
Oh,
bitterness
yeah.
of it. And
Yes.
because beer, I'm all about like stouts and like
Me
really dark
too.
beers.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hell
and I'm a
yeah.
big coffee drinker. So everything is
Mhm.
kind of
It's
that
kind
like
of all
bitter realm.
yep.
Yeah, that's my jam.
Yeah.
And like 𝗵𝗲𝗍 sells like the Guinness chocolates as well. I'm like,
Ooh,
oh, so
nice.
good.
I don't think I've heard that they had those, and I need to find some immediately.
So good,
Sounds
so
amazing.
good.
Do you
Hmm.
like have you had peanut butter beer before? Like a dark
Yeah,
beer? Oh my God.
yeah,
Game
yeah. I like
changer,
peanut
right?
butter beer and then like oatmeal stouts too.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
I remember the first stout that I had was at this one little bar in Glendale where they ran it through an espresso machine. So like the
Oh my
espresso
God.
machine had been
What?
used throughout the day. So then they just put it was like called Big Bad Baptist, and they
Oh
put it
wow.
through the espresso machine. So it's got like that little bit of like coffee flavor as
Yes.
like piled on top of this stout.
Sounds
And oh
amazing.
my goodness, they serve it in this like huge round glass and you feel like royalty. Like,
Yeah.
oh
Like, why can't we go out and have that right now? It sounds incredible.
no, so good. So
Oh
good.
man, amazing. Any beer brands like that you want to shout out? Like what's your, like we're all
Yeah,
about
well,
shout outs on this show.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Big Bad Baptist, because I found they
Yeah.
sell it at Bevmo.
Oh, they
And
do
so
sell it. Okay,
that's a fun
cool.
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to branch out and like try more things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm usually not a fan of IPAs, but there's this
Okay.
one IPA that we found at Trader Joe's that's called Through the Haze. So it's like a
Oh,
hazy IPA.
ooh,
That
nice.
one I would recommend for anybody who like it kind
Yeah,
of like bridges the gap between IPAs and darker beers. So it's like
perfect.
depending on what you
Nice.
like.
Yeah, nice in
Yeah,
between. That's
Through the
good.
Haze is a good one. I think it's like
Okay.
𝗵republic is
Oh,
the
nice. Right
brewing.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my co-host Mark, he always we do a segment on the show usually called "What You Drinking," and we'll ask each other. He lives out in Washington. I live in Fargo, North Dakota. It's currently 10 degrees below zero here right now and snowy. It's snowy
Oh
out.
my
Not
goodness.
snowing, but
Wow.
snowing. Yeah, we have some
Yeah,
great
yeah.
local breweries too, and that's where I first had the peanut butter stout at Junkyard Brewing in Fargo. It's
Amazing.
really good. I wish I could send
Yeah.
you a six pack of that somehow. Like it. But I don't know if it's
Yeah.
available on the West Coast yet. It's a hometown brew, but it's really good. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Oh, that sounds
beer
awesome. Oh,
that concludes beer
I
talk. Or one more
yeah, I
one more
can
beer
tell
talk
you.
for sure.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of alcohol in general, I
Yeah,
mentioned 𝗵𝗻𝗻𝗄𝗃 Tequila
you
from
did.
my wedding.
Yes, thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
back up.
So, yeah, basically when Dylan and I, because you know how we were friends for so long, uh, when it was in 2015, we had both gotten out of super, super rough relationships.
Oh,
And
yep.
we were just kind of like starting to rebuild sort of like a circle of friends because,
Hmm.
you know, our social circles had been connected to the people that we were dating.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, you know, since we had always been, you know, close friends for the past several years, we started hanging out again a lot
Hmm.
more. And throughout 2015, we were hanging out. It got to the point where we were hanging out every single day, and we'd go like play
Mm.
dodgeball together and like watch movies and stuff. And I was talking with another close friend of mine and just kind of like talking about how much fun I was having hanging out with
Hmm.
Dylan. And she was like, "You like him, don't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah," but I was like, "I don't want to ruin this friendship." Because I was like, right now,
Right.
he's like my absolute best friend. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
I don't
cool.
want to try to like make it weird or anything. Because I was like,
Right.
right now, I need a friend more than I need a partner. Like,
Hmm.
that'd be cool to date him, but
Yeah,
I also don't want to
eventually.
ruin
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, yeah, I was like, I really just don't know how to figure out, like if I'm friend zoned or not. And she was like, you should get him drunk. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
what? I was like, no, that's
What?
illegal.
Yeah, get him
I was like,
drunk.
I
Oh
can't
no.
do that.
Oh,
But
that's
then we kept
funny.
talking about it, and I was like, I don't have a better plan, honestly. Because she
Yeah,
was like, then
let's
it just
just do that.
forces the conversation. She's like, it's gonna make it easier to have the conversation because then
Yeah,
anything you say, you
of
can be like,
course.
I was just drinking. It's
Yeah,
whatever.
it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's
And
the
so
truth
we
comes out
drank.
when you drink, so that's good.
Exactly. So we drank Jimador Tequila, and then of course we did actually start dating after that. I wasn't
Perfect.
friend zoned. We were good.
Oh,
But yeah, so then a couple months into dating, I was like really proud of myself for like, you know, going after something that I wanted and being like,
mm-hmm.
oh yeah, like I took control
Yeah,
of my own life and like
hell yeah.
bounced back from this like unhealthy, you know, period of my life, and like we're doing great now. So I got Jimador tattooed on my
Oh,
side.
nice. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
because I was like, this is such like a fun, like a great moment in my life where
Yeah,
everything kind of turned around for me. So I
it's a
got
touchstone.
𝗵𝗻𝗻𝗃
Yeah.
Tequila, yeah, tattooed on my side. So then when we were getting married, I sent a picture on Twitter to 𝗵𝗻𝗻𝗃. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I have your brand tattooed on my rib cage. Like, can I get some alcohol?
Amazing.
Please. I was like, we're getting married, and 𝗵𝗻𝗻𝗃 is like a big part of our
Oh,
story and
that's
everything.
so
Like
cool.
we have 𝗵𝗻𝗃 shirts and stuff, like
Sure.
because it's kind of like this inside thing
Amazing.
between us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so 𝗵𝗻𝗃 was like, we can't technically like sponsor anything, but we can give you a gift. And so they sent us these
Oh,
like
perfect.
massive boxes, like these crates full of tequila
Oh my
and all these like
God.
nice glasses and stuff that had like the
Wow.
𝗵𝗻𝗃 logos on them.
Shout out to
And so
them. Wow.
yeah,
That is
so
so cool.
our wedding was beer, wine, and tequila. Just so
Tequila.
much tequila.
Of
Yeah.
course. That's incredible that they did that. How neat of them. How sweet to
Yeah.
like be a part of your relationship as well as your wedding. That's really neat.
I think that would have been pretty crappy for them to be like, I know that you have a brand tattooed on your side, but like,
Nah, hard pass.
nah.
That's so
Yep.
funny.
Yep.
Oh, that's fun. So that concludes alcohol talk for now. So tell me about what kind of shows have you binged during quarantine, lockdown?
Ooh, yeah, we're working our way through Breaking Bad right now
Oh,
because Dylan's,
nice.
of course, watched the entirety of the series,
Hmm.
but I hadn't seen every single episode.
Okay.
And so we're kind of going through from start to finish and making sure that
Yes.
I see everything in
Yeah,
order.
you have to. So, what are you
Yeah, yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it?
Oh, I'm obsessed. I think the writing is really brilliant. It
Amazing.
does a great job of keeping the stakes really high no matter
Hmm.
what. Like they have enough intertwining stories where
Oh, so
there's
many.
always something intense going on, and so it
Right.
doesn't like have those lull episodes because a lot of other shows like they build up to this big climactic
Yeah.
moment and then it kind of drops off and they don't really know where they're taking it from there, and then things
Hmm.
can start to kind of get weird and then they have to figure out the new climactic thing that they start building up to. So
Yes.
you get those like several episodes in between where you're like, I don't really know what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But Breaking Bad, it's like
No
they're already
filler.
setting up, yeah, they're already
Hmm.
setting up the next big storyline while they're finishing out one.
It's
So
genius. Vince Gilligan
yeah.
and the whole writing team are just
Oh my God.
incredible. And then you get to go on to
So good.
Better Call Saul when you're done with that. I mean,
Yeah, Dylan
oh
was
my
actually
God.
in an episode of Better Call Saul,
What?
which was super cool. Yeah,
Oh
he
God.
played the kid. Yeah, it's the flashback of like when he was deciding to become a lawyer and the
Yeah.
kid who's
Hmm.
stealing the video games. That's
No
Dylan.
way.
Yeah, so he
Whoa.
like hides in the little
I'll
photo booth.
I'll have to go back and watch that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Bob Odenkirk's a genius too. I mean, my God, just
Yeah.
the comedically and serious drama. I mean, it's insane. He can do
Mhm.
anything. I'm convinced. I mean,
Yeah, I know that was a huge deal for Dylan because
yeah,
Breaking Bad
that
was
is
his like
so cool.
absolute favorite show growing
Yeah,
up, and then booking Better Call Saul, he got to go out
huge.
there to New Mexico and meet because it was like the first day back of filming for the new
Sure.
season, so everyone was there, so he got
Excited.
to meet everybody,
Oh my
which
God.
was super
What?
cool.
Jealous.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
is
know.
so
So
neat.
yeah.
Damn. So Breaking Bad, that probably takes up a lot of your time on the TV front, huh?
Yes, it does. Yeah, we kind of we bounce back and forth because
Hmm.
we will binge like one specific genre like really
Sure.
hard, and then we'll get a little bit burnt out on that, and we'll
Yeah,
switch back
that's
and forth
yep.
because
You have to have
we
a
both.
couple in,
Yeah,
juggling.
Breaking Bad has been really nice because it's kind of that mix of like drama and comedy and like
Yes.
intensity and also like the chill
Yeah, a little
chill
something for
moments in it as
everyone.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
because usually it'll be like lots and lots of like true crime
Yep.
documentaries and like
Oh, love it.
really dark gritty stuff,
Hmm.
and then we're like, okay, we're both like having night terrors, let's like watch a little something else.
Yeah,
And then we'll just
for
kind of
sure.
like for a while, like for a week or two, we'll just be watching like YouTube videos before
Yeah,
bed.
just
And
something that you're
then
gonna have nice dreams.
yep,
We're
yeah, I
we're really
know.
into the murder porn stuff, like Investigation Discovery. Anything on there is
Mhm.
great. I know Oxygen just started doing like murder shows too, so check out
Yeah,
Oxygen's output as well. They have one called
yeah.
Exhumed where they have to dig up bodies to get more clues and whatnot, and that one's really good. Exhumed. We've also been watching, let's see, oh, Yellowstone on Paramount, which is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, they're doing a prequel
Yeah.
to that now. Kevin Costner, they just signed a contract to do a prequel to that, and also Ozark. We were kind of late to the party on Ozark, and oh my God,
Yeah. We were
so
we
good.
were a little late to the party
Hmm.
on Ozark as well. We watched, I believe, the first season, and
Hmm.
Dylan, of course, was like, he's like, you should watch Breaking Bad first.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so
Watch the best first. Yeah.
so we jumped into Breaking Bad first.
Sure.
And we might go back to Ozark, but yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think that Breaking Bad is a little bit more of my vibe.
Sure.
But Ozark was still, I think that he's super, super
Oh
talented. And I
God.
thought that there was
Yeah.
definitely like really, really well written moments,
So
but
well
there was a
written.
lot that,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a couple specific things that kind of annoyed me throughout. And
Oh,
like,
sure.
I did not like the girl with the blonde curly hair. I
Oh
did
yeah.
not like her
Mhm.
character. I was like, this is a really unnecessary, like all these like problems are all stemming from
Yeah.
her. If we just get rid of her, then
Hmm.
like
Well,
no
I
more
hate to tell you,
problems.
she's become a bigger part of the show. We're in season
I
3. We got a
I
couple
could
episodes
see
left.
I could see her becoming a bigger part of the show as the end of the
Hmm.
season was approaching. I
Yeah.
was like, damn it, I
Yeah.
don't like her.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's funny. So music, where are you at with music?
Yeah,
Like, what have you
well, I
been listening
mean,
to?
yeah, so my dad obviously is a super talented musician, and I love, 𝗵cie𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 and everything that his group does. I think that, if you listen to 𝗵cie𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏, it kind of makes my music taste make more sense.
Hmm.
And so you can kind of see what I like based off of them, just because that's what I've grown up listening to. Very much big fan of like, Radiohead, as well as like Wilco is a little bit
Oh,
more like
nice. Yeah.
folk rock kind of stuff. Yeah, so I like Radiohead, I like Wilco, I like the Gorillaz as well,
Oh,
which,
nice. Yep.
my playlists can be a little bit all over the place.
Sure.
But yeah, I like a lot of different genres of music, and I think I've gotten pretty good at being able to appreciate like the best in every genre, as opposed to trying to
Okay.
limit myself to just
Yeah.
listening to one genre.
Open your mind
So
to other genres. That's good.
yeah,
Good to be
yeah,
well-rounded, having different
yeah.
musical tastes depending on what your mood is and what you're up to and what you're doing and stuff like that.
My Spotify recap at the end of the
Oh
year
my
is
God.
always the
All
weirdest
over,
thing.
all over the place.
Which it was funny because it asks you like the quiz of like what like era do you think you listen to the
Hmm.
most? And it would be like, like did you listen to the most like 70s, like 80s, or
Yep.
like 2000s? And I'm like, I don't know. I listen to a lot of like 70s music. So I
Yeah.
like clicked on that one and it was like, nope, you listen to the most like 2000s. And I was like, that's weird. But it's because I listen to soundtracks a lot.
Oh,
And
sure.
so
Yep.
my most listened to albums were like the Dead Space soundtrack. And then
Okay.
like,
Nice.
because yeah, I'm a big fan of like video game soundtracks,
Sure.
and I will listen to them while I'm writing a lot of the
Hmm.
time.
As your
So like,
background.
yeah, yeah, it's just kind of like a easy way to kind of get in the mood of like kind of
Nice.
brainstorm things is like Outlast, the game Outlast 2.
Oh
They've got a
yeah, for
really
sure.
intense
Yep.
soundtrack. And the movie that just came out a year or two ago, The Lodge, has a fun
Yeah.
soundtrack too.
Hmm.
It's a lot more mellow than the other
Cool.
two.
Oh,
But yeah, it was funny because it was pulling up all of like my like favorite artists and stuff, and it
yeah.
was like all these composers, and then also 𝗵𝗆 does music for streamers, so
Oh,
it's like
sure.
that way it's like you can't get like copyright striked or anything
Right. Yep.
for using his music
Oh,
because
that's
he allows
perfect.
streamers.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that of course was my top artist for the year
Yep.
because like I just play it in the background while I'm
Yeah, it's on
painting
all
on
the time.
stream.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, if what song was last in your head, and what is your theme song? Do you have one? Like, if you had a theme song, it's a kind of a
Oh
weird question.
goodness. Yeah, okay. The last song that was in my head, my husband and I were joking because we play this little like phone game called Wordscapes before
Mm,
bed, and we'll play it for like, a really long time, and it's like this dumb little song that plays while you play the
mhm.
game, but it'll get like really really stuck in our
Just
head, so we're just
drilled
kind of
in.
humming it. Yeah, and yesterday we were
I
both
love
humming
that.
it, and I was like, where is this song from? What is this? Like, what do I know this from? And he's like, it's the Wordscape song. I was like, oh,
Right.
I didn't realize.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Yeah, so I had the Wordscape song stuck in my head
Okay.
for a
I'll have to check
while.
that out. It'll be in my
Yeah,
head too, I'm sure.
yeah, it's funny because Dylan will download like every single game that exists,
Hmm.
whereas I'm really selective about my games because I get
Okay.
like super addicted to games very
You get
quickly, so I
really
have to keep
focused
them off
on.
my phone.
Sure.
Yeah, like I got Candy Crush for a little bit, and I was like, gotta delete this.
Hmm.
That there goes 2 years of my life.
That's perfect.
but
I love
but
that.
yeah, so Wordscapes was something that you can play it like I think for free with the ads, but the ads
Oh,
are like
sure.
they interrupt everything, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you can buy it for $6 and then you have no ads.
Forever. Yeah.
So I bought it for $6, and Dylan was like, you spent $6 on a game, because usually like app games and stuff it's like
Yeah.
it's a lot to spend 99 cents, but I was
Yeah.
like, it's $6. I was like, we rent movies all the time for like $5. What do you
Yeah.
like, I get to own this game now, and now we play it every
Forever.
single night. Yeah, we try to play things on
So
his
funny.
phone, and like every 2 seconds it pops up an ad. I'm
It's
like,
like,
just
God,
buy the games, like
just
pick your
do it.
favorites and buy them.
You're investing. It's entertainment. And you haven't been
Yep.
doing much during quarantine anyway. You're not going out to movies and stuff. Come
I
on.
know,
Splurge a
exactly.
little
But
bit, Dylan.
yeah. Yeah, so Wordscape's theme song is in my
Sure.
head. And
Yep.
then yeah, I've never had like an anthem or anything.
Yeah.
I think that kind of like with the weather and with how wherever my life is,
Hmm.
my music taste will kind of like shift back and forth between things. Like I'll get
Sure.
really on like a kick of one specific band, and then I'll kind of like switch over to a different band, and then I'll like come back to the old band and
Okay.
stuff.
Yep.
I've always been a huge David Bowie fan, so
Yes.
I tend to come back to Bowie very
Hmm.
frequently.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love everything that he does.
Yes.
Oh, You Pretty Things is a fun one.
Oh,
I've
I
been
love that
getting
song.
yeah, I've been getting a lot more into like studying and learning more about like magic and like
Hmm.
Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley
Sure. Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And so it's
Wow.
interesting
Digging
because
deep.
yeah, so Bowie was a magician, and
Yeah.
you like growing up with his songs, you know, I learn the lyrics and I don't think anything of them. And then now that I'm studying all this
Oh,
other
wow.
stuff, I'm going back and listening to things and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, this is about like Hollow Earth. And like he
Whoa.
mentions like Aleister Crowley and like all this stuff. I'm
It's
like,
all
oh,
connected.
this
That's
is
so
cool.
neat.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like listening to Bowie now with this
Sure.
different like
Different.
appreciation and
Yeah.
understanding.
Oh, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to mention, since you mentioned David Bowie, the new Foo Fighters record has Dave Grohl wanted it to have kind of a David Bowie vibe to it. So
Hmm.
Medicine at Midnight. We just
Yeah.
actually we released a episode today reviewing that album of our podcast.
Nice.
So yeah, but
Oh,
there's one
awesome.
track especially on there that sounds really Bowie-esque, and it's just like, it's right out of the like Let's Dance 80s Bowie era.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, check out that record. It's got 9 songs. It's an easy
Yeah.
listen, front to back, new Foo Fighters. Yeah, it's good stuff. So it kind of all ties together with the Bowie thing. And Grohl was like wanting it to sound like a Bowie record. I think there's that one song
Absolutely.
sounds the most like it, but yeah, it's really
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Is it Foo Fighters that does the song Sky is a Neighborhood?
Yes. Love
Okay.
that song.
So yeah, that's one of my favorites. I absolutely
Mhm.
love that song, but I used it as an alarm. So now Dylan like can't stand that song because like it comes on as our morning alarm all the time.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
like,
so
I
funny.
need some Foo Fighters. Like Foo Fighters
Yeah.
is the last alarm that I set. So
Sure.
it's like I have a couple like, you know,
Yep,
more mellow,
go-tos.
like yeah, I've got like my Bon Iver that starts us
Yep.
out of just kind of the
Mhm.
gentle waking us
Yep.
up, and then I've got like, you know, some gorillas that like is
Yeah.
a little bit more,
It
and
gets
then
more
I've got like
aggressive.
when Foo Fighters comes in we have to get out of bed.
You're in trouble. That's how you know it's the last minute.
Yeah. The
That's so
drums
funny.
coming in, it's like,
Oh
okay, let's
God,
wake up now, we
big
slept through
drums.
everything.
That's so funny. One more music question. What was the first
Mhm.
CD you bought? Have you bought CDs?
Oh
I don't even know,
God,
like,
no.
your age group. I think you bought CDs. I don't know.
I did buy
Yeah.
CDs. Yeah, I'm so ashamed of my music taste growing up.
It's okay.
It was
This is a safe space here.
yeah, the funny thing is that like I had a weird blend of like really cool music that my
Mhm.
dad exposed me to, and then also these like 80s pop artists that my mom exposed me
Oh,
to.
sure.
And then of course when I was like, you know, like 10, 11, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna like find my own music and
Yep.
like, you know, create my own style and personality and everything. And I started like exploring new like bands and things. I got
Sure.
really into Green Day, which isn't as bad,
Yep.
but I
Right.
also bought the Hilary Duff CD, like her, I think it's like So Yesterday or something
Oh,
like that. I
So
just like,
Yesterday.
I
No
thought it was
shame
a
there.
bop.
It
But
was a bop. It was.
the funny thing is that, like I said way earlier, we didn't have Disney Channel, so I wasn't like, you know, a fan of her because of Lizzie McGuire or anything. I just
Mhm.
like I bought her CD, and then I
Yeah.
found out that she was in a movie, so I
You're
watched
like,
the Lizzie
"Oh."
McGuire movie, but I never
Mhm.
watched the Lizzie McGuire show or
Sure.
anything. And I ended up like I think like I bought tickets to one of her concerts. Like I ended up going
Mhm.
to like a Hilary Duff concert when I was little.
Oh, was that your first
But
concert?
no, thank God it wasn't my first concert.
What
My
was?
my first concert was actually a Bruce Springsteen concert
Oh,
when
hell
I
yeah.
was I was I think
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Okay.
My dad when he was coming to town bought tickets to every single one of the shows while he was in Los
Oh,
Angeles
amazing.
because Bruce Springsteen will play like a different set
Yep,
every
he
night. So
will.
my
Yeah,
dad
he's yeah.
yeah, so he wanted tickets to each of the shows.
Cool.
So he bought like a couple tickets to each show, and he was planning on taking my mom, but my
Mhm.
mom got like the stomach flu or something.
Oh,
So he
no.
was like, Allison, you want to go to a concert? And I was like, okay.
Hey,
So
do
he
it.
took this like tiny toddler to the
Oh, that's
show,
adorable.
and I got so tired near the end of it that I fell asleep during the encore.
Oh, no.
So my dad thought it was hilarious because I was just like, you know, obviously he plays really long shows,
He
so it's
does so
understandable
long.
that near
Yeah,
the end
for
that I was
sure.
probably getting
3 and
tired.
a half
But he
hours
was,
in.
he was like, we were close to the front and you were by this massive speaker, just like
Oh, wow.
conked out while this speaker
Yeah.
just blares in your face.
Adorable. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think I was at that. I was on. Probably I saw him on that same tour, I think, in like, was it like 1999? Would that have been the right era
That
for
would
you?
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came to the Fargo Dome here, and I saw him too finally after liking him
Nice.
forever. Yeah, so good. But yeah,
Yeah.
he plays forever. He plays a different set. You never know what you're going to get with Springsteen. It's just, it's up in
Yeah.
the air. It's a lot of fun. He's one of our favorite bands on the show here too. So
Nice.
Springsteen,
Yeah.
Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam, that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
And then as
Yeah.
well as like we like indie bands and stuff too. Those are like the three bigger bands, as well as a band the Hold Steady. I don't know if you've heard of them from they're from Minneapolis. They're kind of like a
Okay.
bar rock darlings. They're independent, but they're really fun too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
they got
recognize.
Springsteen vibes as well
Yeah,
as
yeah.
Brian Fallon too. Brian Fallon's up right up there. He was
Very
a band
cool.
called the Gaslight Anthem, kind of a Springsteen-esque punk type band, heavily influenced by him. But yeah, those are my shout outs for bands, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is about you though. I love your I love your choices. I love your first concert.
Oh, thank
Just,
you.
just got a few more questions if we want to go to the AP Bio subreddit questions quick. I know
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of your time already, but Smithers DBE says, what is it like to be the baddest motherfucker on the show?
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, the Heather love has been absolutely incredible. I actually didn't realize how big a part of the show I was going to be
Mhm.
until the episode started airing, because since I can't see through the glasses, I
Right.
didn't know when the camera was on me. And the thing is that like I will sleep in for as long as you'll let me.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so, waking up for these really early mornings on set, I was always so tired. We'd be
Mhm.
working these 12-hour days, having to get up at like, 5 or 6 a.m. And so, we'll just be sitting in this classroom set for hours and hours and
Right.
hours. And it's really hard not to like doze off,
I
just like
bet.
being in this like classroom setting with the fluorescent lighting.
Yeah.
And so I kind of created all these character quirks to entertain myself, because I
Mhm.
was like, if I'm not paying attention, like, it'll be like a 5-page scene and I have one line, and I'm like, I
Right.
just zone out. Like if they're all talking and it's like I'm not paying attention to what's going on. So I would zone out, and then I would like, be at risk of missing my line or my cue.
Right.
It's kind of like when it goes silent, it's probably my line.
You're supposed to talk
But
now. Get in
yeah,
character.
but yeah, so what I did to keep my mind active enough to pay attention and not fall asleep was I would kind of be like, okay, when he says this, I'm gonna like peek out and look at him, or when that person says that, I'm gonna write something down,
Mhm.
or like I move my notebook on this line. So I kind of created all these little cues so that I was
Sure.
like listening and paying attention to the
Yep.
scene, and I had like something to do at each part, just paying attention to like my own continuity. And so then I remember several episodes in, one of the directors, Oz Rodriguez, who was directing most of our episodes,
Mhm.
he called out to me. He was like, "Hey, like Allison, can you do the little pop out, like the little Heather pop out?" And I was like,
So
"Whoa,
good.
people are watching me." I was like, "Oh, I
I
didn't
love
realize
that.
that was like becoming a thing." I was just
The
every time
pop
he
out.
would,
Oh,
yeah, every time he would say something sexual, I would like pop out and kind of look. And
so
so
good.
he was like, "Hey, can we get a close up on like the Heather pop out?" I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's cool. They're
Oh, that's
watching."
me.
And then
I'm
I watched
Heather.
the show and they cut to all my little
So
reactions and
good.
like my little goofy stuff. And I was like, oh, that's like now part of the
Yeah,
character.
that's
That was
your
just something that I
signature.
needed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
needed to stay awake.
it was for
Like,
you.
yeah,
I love that.
but yeah.
Uh, Good answers. The next question, B. Jacobs one. We already talked about this. Where did the Heather voice come from? What inspired it? And is it hard to maintain speaking in that voice? And
It's
then
only hard.
someone else said, what
Yeah.
if that's just her voice? LMAO. That was Smithers
Yeah.
DBE that said that second part.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it only gets hard to maintain if I have a cold. I remember
Oh
those were the
yeah.
toughest episodes when
Hmm.
I would have like congestion, because I
Hmm.
can't get the same sound out of my voice.
Right.
But yeah, the Heather voice, I remember being concerned because we filmed the pilot and I did this voice, and then a couple months went by, and then we found out we got picked up. They had to
Oh
do all their
yeah.
pre-production, and then we
Hmm.
came back, and I was like, can somebody show me the original episode, because I don't 100% remember what I did with
Right.
it. And I was just kind of like winging it, and like, again, it's like, Heather might have like 3 lines for an
Yeah.
episode, or she might have like 6 lines, but still it's like that's several days of shooting. So, there might be a couple days where I don't have any lines, and then one
Hmm.
day where I have 3 lines, and I'm like, God, I hope this is consistent.
Hope I can
And
keep it.
yeah, I had this huge breath of relief when I saw like a Heather compilation on YouTube, and it
Hmm.
was all my
So good.
lines back to back, and I was like, "Oh, good." I was like, that was
Yeah.
like my first confirmation of
Yeah.
knowing that I did the voice right the whole time. I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, cool. That matches." I'm really
Yeah.
glad. Yeah.
Speaking of that, where did the term boss come from that you use? Yes, boss and sure boss. Thurman's underscore beard wanted to know that, as well as corporation underscore t-shirt. They both wanted to know that. Where did
Yeah,
boss come
yeah.
from?
Yeah, I mean, that was something that was written into one of my lines. I think that the writers, if I say something and it like really sticks as like, oh, that's a hilarious thing to come out of
Mhm.
Heather's mouth, then they'll continuously use that. And I
Right.
saw that they really liked, the whole like boss and chief thing. And so I would
I
kind of
love it.
throw that at the
Chief
end of,
too.
yeah. So I would
Yeah.
start throwing that into the end of lines. So it'd be like, we got you, Mr. G, or like, we got
Mhm.
you, boss. And I would just kind of start using it more. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely like the writers put that in there. They started
Sure.
loving it. I started loving it. And it just became a thing of like,
So cool.
boss came at the end of every single line.
Yeah, I love that. Ramble on Bros wants to know what's it like. What was it like filming the pig carving scene for the superintendent's visit? Her ability to play it so straight while looking out into the class's uncomfortable faces was hilarious, and I loved it.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that the training of the rest of the show leading up to that, of whenever I'm on set as Heather, I know that I have to be super precise with all of my actions
Right.
because I can't see, so I have to memorize exactly what I'm doing and where things are as
Hmm.
Heather. So I think that really helped the pig butchering scene because I didn't have to look at it while I was doing it, so I
Yeah.
could like
That.
chop and
My
slide and
God.
while I was maintaining eye contact and all this stuff. So it
So
kind of made it
robotic. It was so
easier.
good.
Yeah, it made it a lot easier because I knew exactly what the movements were. And the
Yeah.
same thing later in a later episode where I get up out of my desk and I chuck an apple into or like
Hmm.
a peach into
Oh my God.
the
The
trash
best.
can, and then I'm writing the whole thing on the blackboard because I
Yeah.
had to do that all blind. So I
Oh, I
practiced
suppose. Yeah.
what I had to write on the chalkboard because I had to
Hmm.
draw all these things and write this stuff out. So it's like I had rehearsed that down to such a T that
Hmm.
it became, I could do my
You could
dialogue
do
and
it.
this was just kind of muscle memory. So it actually like it was kind of good acting training, sort of like how, sitcoms teach you to learn new things and
Right.
adapt really quickly. It's like
Yeah.
playing Heather taught me to like, your blocking and your movements should be second nature. That way you can
Yep.
focus on the dialogue and
Natural.
you
Yeah.
don't
So
even
you
have
can
to
do
think
that.
about doing this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. And a bunch of people are wondering the where's the Heather character going, and what is she what how long do you think the series can last with the same students who are juniors or seniors? Ricky LaFleur, Ricky underscore LaFleur, DK Mister, and oh my gosh. Those are the two that we're wondering at the most. Where does the character Heather go, and how long can this go on as high schoolers? I mean, you guys can go off to college. The Goldberg kids are going off to college.
Yeah, we keep asking that. We're like, these kids should definitely be out of high school now. We're
Sure.
going into season 4.
Yep.
But I think they just kind of like suspend, time doesn't exist in
Hmm.
this, universe. We don't talk about how much school these
Yeah.
kids are doing.
Doesn't
We
matter,
also
right?
don't address the idea that like Jack only teaches one class. Like that's not how that would
Yeah.
usually go. So
Sometimes
I
there's
think
some bio.
yeah, I think there's kind of this suspension of disbelief that has to get implemented, and you just have to
Definitely.
accept that all these 30-year-olds are gonna, indefinitely remain in high school.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have no idea. I think that it would only come down to like if all of the student cast started getting other shows and we all
Right.
became
Yep.
too busy, they might
Yeah.
have to replace the student cast as a
Sure.
whole. But
Just
I know they
rotate them
definitely
in.
don't want to do that.
No. Yeah, you guys are so well
So
established now as your characters, and the characters are so
yeah,
developed at this point.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only students who have left the show have been, because they book other
Yeah.
projects, so they're working on
Right.
other things,
Hmm.
and yeah, because
That
we're
makes
all
sense.
technically still reoccurring. We're all
Right.
like
That's crazy
we're not
how it
part of the
works.
main cast technically, so we
That's
all have like week to week contracts.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. I didn't realize that.
Which yeah,
Wow.
which is why there's a couple episodes that Spence is not in because he
Okay.
was working on All American at the same
Oh,
time as
sure.
AP
Hmm.
Bio. So he would
Yep.
kind of bounce back and forth and they would try to squeeze all of his scenes in on days that he wasn't working on All American.
Okay. Yeah, they got to do a lot of juggling,
Hmm.
I'm guessing, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. I appreciate you taking the time to answer the subreddit, the AP Bio subreddit's questions, as
Yeah.
well as my questions. This has been awesome. You gave so much of your time to me. What I
Of
know
course.
we plugged a lot of your stuff. Do you want to plug your Linktree link as your main plug?
Yes,
Do you have it
yeah. If you,
memorized?
oh goodness, yeah. If you look me up on Instagram,
Hmm.
it's always Allison. So my name is spelled funny. It's ALLISYN. So on Instagram, I have just about everything linked,
Yep.
through there on my bio, and then my link tree's there. Yeah, the main stuff I do is, I have Watch the Footage Productions is my
Hmm.
company where we do short films, and we produce Astrid Clover, which is my web series. So if you want, if you have an afternoon free and you want to, binge a really strange,
Deep
like,
dive.
yeah, we have, I think, 340
Oh
40
my
something
God. That's
episodes.
incredible
Yeah.
that you've done it that
Which
long
is
too.
crazy.
It's
Yeah. So
amazing.
if you want to see me grow up as this character,
Yeah, I
it's a
do.
fun deep dive. So yeah, Astrid Clover, check that out on YouTube. And then my art page is linked to my Instagram as well, but that is the art of Allison on Etsy. And so
Right.
yeah.
And we'll put all those in the when we post the episode, probably Monday or
Awesome.
Tuesday of next week. So we'll post those as well. I always like to have people be able
Dope.
to plug their stuff audio and video wise. Can I
Yeah.
ask you to take a picture with me? I'm going to do a screenshot if that's cool.
Yeah.
Side by side. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time and you doing this, Allison, so much. This has been like just amazing for me. Thank you again. If you ever want to talk in the future, let's do it. I mean, we have a lot of stuff we could still talk about, but once again, Allison Snyder, thank you so much for being on the Rocks podcast, and kudos to you for everything you've done. And can't wait to see season 4 of AP Bio and everything else you do. And
Oh
I thank you
yeah.
again. And
Thank you so much. I really
yeah, of
appreciate
course.
that.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. Take care of
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely. You as well. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Yeah, peace. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yes. So the rest of your day is just kind of like getting ready for your 4 o'clock thing.
Yeah, so Dylan is I think at 1 o'clock. Yeah, so in about 10 minutes, Dylan is helping out a friend who wrote a script during quarantine, and they're
Nice.
doing like a virtual table read. And
Cool.
so so they wanted Dylan to read for one of the characters. So
Sure.
he's hopping on another Zoom call here in a moment so
Nice.
that he can participate in a table read, and then we're gonna head to the tattoo
Yes.
studio. Yeah, get his octopus filled in.
Hell
And
yeah. That's so cool.
yeah, it's a massive tattoo. It's the
Oh
largest
man.
tattoo that either of us has gotten.
I bet. That's
Yeah,
so
because
neat.
we're both scuba divers, and so the
Sure.
whole like
Oh,
sea creature
cool. Yeah,
thing was yeah.
we could have talked about the scuba diving and the roller derby next time.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Well,
I know.
thanks again for your time. I don't want to take up too much more, so I'm gonna I have to get rocking and rolling too. But thank you so
For sure.
much for your time. I appreciate it so
Yes.
much, and it was amazing talking to you, Allison. Thanks
Yeah, yeah,
again.
you as well. Let me know if
Yeah,
yeah, anything's ever going on in the future.
I will do that. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe.
Cool. You have
Peace.
a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.